It's time for TWiT, episode 271. We've got Clayton Morris here to pay back on his bet. We've got Joshua Topolsky from Engadget and the wonderful Cali Lewis. We're going to talk about Apple, the new MacBook Airs, hands-on, and more. This Week in Tech is up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Audio bandwidth for This Week in Tech is provided by Winamp. Subscribe to TWiT and all your favorite podcasts with the ultimate media player. Download it for free at winamp.com. Video bandwidth for TWiT is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 271, recorded October 24th, 2010. The chicken is the bun. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Go to My PC, the safe way to access your PC remotely that's as secure as online banking. For your free 30-day trial, visit gotomypc.com/twit. And by Audible.com. Sign up for the Platinum plan and get 2 free books. Go to audible.com/twit2 and don't forget to follow Audible on Twitter, user ID audible_com. And by Ford and the new 2011 Ford Edge. It grabs attention as well as it grabs the road and features available My Ford Touch to connect you to your vehicle in new and innovative ways. The 2011 Ford Edge. Drive one this week at a Ford dealer near you. It's time for TWiT, This Week in Tech, the show that covers your latest technology news with deep analysis from great minds like these. What the hell? Clayton Morris is here.
What?
He's wearing a Phillies outfit from Fox and Friends. Hey, Clayton.
Hey, Leo. Thanks for having me on the show.
I believe, and we should get this out of the way before the others join us because I think they're nerds. And they're not into the great manly sport of baseball. But we had a wager, I believe, Mr. Morris.
Yeah, last week, I think, what was it, during Game 1?
Yeah.
You tweeted that Cody Ross was...
my boyfriend.
Your new boyfriend. Yeah, you were in love with Cody Ross.
Actually, we're engaged now. Yeah.
I'm glad I sent you guys an engagement present. I said he's the most hated man in my house right now. Because, of course, I'm from Philadelphia, so this just absolutely chapped my behind. And then you and I had a friendly wager that if the Phillies were to win, you would end up wearing a full Phillies regalia on TWiT. And if I was to win, or if, vice versa, if you were to win, then I'd wear a full Giants outfit.
Let me just check here. I got to look at I believe I may be wrong, but I think the Giants won.
Yeah, so I can't believe this is. I had root canal one time, and this is actually going to pain me. Just
we sent Clayton an outfit, but you know what? We forgot one thing, Clayton.
What?
The black beard. You don't have a black beard anywhere, do you?
If you give me 3 days, can we continue the show for 3 days? I can do that. I can put a little
grow
just for
Just
Ben
grow it. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to do this. I had to take my headset
so humiliating.
I'm taking off the
Poor
shirt.
guy. Oh my God. Is this what we sent him, or? Yeah. Okay. We didn't make Clayton buy a Giants. It could have been worse. We could have made him buy
anything but a Phillies uniform. In fact, I only wear Phillies underwear every day on a basis. And here's this Phillies hat, or this San Francisco Giants.
Oh yeah,
hat.
we sent you a patriotic one.
Big. So I'm wearing it kind of like 50 Cent.
You kind of it's very gangsta, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just keep the bill flat, and I'm going to keep the sticker on there.
I think this looks nice, actually. This is a big improvement over the red.
Great, just fantastic.
Oh, the humiliation. Oh, my God. If you're listening to audio, you got to check in for the video. You know what? Let's do this. Let's put this on the front page of TWiT. Maybe you have I don't know, Clayton Morris, hands-on. His first Giants exposure.
Oh, this is the first time I've ever. I used to, when I played Little League, playing T-ball, I was on the Phillies. When I played Little League, I was on a Phillies. Phillies version of whatever it was. Baseball, I was on a Phillies, and I've been to dozens amazing. And dozens of Phillies games. I've never once worn a Giants outfit.
I like soft pretzels. Does that count?
I'll send you some soft pretzels and a cheesesteak.
That's
I was
good.
actually going to send you the best cheesesteak in all of Philadelphia. People don't know there unless they're from there.
Yeah.
Is John's Roast Pork in South Philadelphia. They're only open till 3 in the afternoon, and there's a line out the door. and it is no. Pat's is terrible.
Geno's.
All right, wait. Before you guys get to bed, I better bring in Joshua Topolsky. He is with Engadget. He's obviously been to Philadelphia once or twice, but right now he's in Brooklyn.
Fortunately, yes.
And not a baseball fan. And also joining us, as long as we're going through the list here, we should also say hello to Cali Lewis, who is also here, and she's visiting Atlanta. So really, in some ways, you're also part of this rivalry since the Giants beat Atlanta to get to the Phillies game.
I claim nothing.
But you are a Texas Rangers fan.
Sure.
Good.
I
Sure.
enjoy going to Rangers Rangers.
It's
baseball
called baseball.
Games.
That's
what are they called?
home runs, batters. Yeah.
Is that what we've been talking about for the first 5 minutes?
You guys are
This
such
is baseball?
nerds. So, in fact, maybe Cali and I could have a little wager for the World Series. That might be kind of fun. What would you be willing to do, Cali, if the Giants beat the Rangers in the World Series?
Oh, I'm so not good with bets.
All right. Well, I'll let Clayton come up with one since this has worked so well for him.
Right.
No, you don't want me on your side.
You look so good in that Giants shirt.
Because you're gonna end up looking like this if I get involved.
50 Cent. So,
I think it might actually fall down even further on my head than it does yours.
it's pretty big.
That's pretty bad.
I don't know why we assumed you had such a large noggin there.
It's like Andy Capp's hot fries.
Hey, how are you? So,
Cliff Lee on Wednesday. That's a big deal. Cliff Lee for the Rangers going against Tim Lincecum.
No, I think Kane is going to start for us, which is a little odd. Yeah, I would have assumed Lincecum as well. Anyway, enough baseball talk.
This is a tech show.
Let's talk about
Congratulations, Leo. I want to say I'd be a good sport. Congratulations,
and congratulations to the Phillies, who did very well and won their division and really 2 years in a row. Pennant winners. I mean, they're a great team, and I did not think we had a shot at it. Although I have to say, this was bad. I had a Philly cheesesteak sandwich during the game last night.
So
I really did,
actually beforehand.
But to really confuse you, I had it from a place called Buffalo Chicken Wings.
Oh, I've been to that place.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's
That
delicious.
can't be good. I mean, Philly cheesesteak
Geno's.
from Buffalo.
It's
Chicken
weird.
Wings.
Geno's, you're a Geno's guy, and you say Clayton, you say John's. I've been to Geno's.
John's
They're
roast
all-
pork
they're
in
all
South
terrible.
Philadelphia.
Let
I'm
me
telling you,
just
Pat's and Geno's are the tourist traps. You go
That's
there
where
at 3
I
in the
go.
morning when you're loaded. And
Yeah.
you probably were loaded at 3 in the morning.
I
That's when
was.
you went there.
Yeah.
That's the only reason you go there. But try it. Next time anyone who's watching, go to John's Roast Pork in South Philadelphia. Tell them I sent you, and they won't do anything for you.
Clayton gets a discount if 10 people tell him.
Yeah, right. John doesn't care.
Free Philly cheesesteak.
I know Clayton Morris.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want
It's
peppers
like
with
a
that?
shit Nazi. You
Like
have to
Philly
order properly, or you get kicked out.
Yes, that's right. So
Yeah.
tell us, this I know, and then we will talk about tech. How should I order a Philly cheesesteak properly?
Well, you go in, first of all, you go to John's Roast Pork. They're going to anything from the grill. Anybody want anything from the grill? And if you don't know what you're talking about, if you don't know that a cheesesteak comes from a grill and you walk up and you want roast pork, they have the roast pork ready to go. You've got to order it either with provolone or you want wit. If you get wit, which is W-I-T, that means wit, the cheese whiz.
It's Velveeta. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
crap.
nasty. Don't do the cheese.
But isn't
whiz.
that the
That's
real?
way to do it.
That's what I thought. I thought that was the real thing.
Yeah, you got to get the cheese
The
whiz.
chop steak, really good chop steak, and provolone. Get a little provolone, a little red sauce. That's the
This is some hoity-toity cheesesteak.
That ain't do. So I want a cheesesteak wit.
Yeah, cheesesteak wit, that'll get you the nasty cheese, or you can get a cheesesteak with provolone, and that's the good cheese.
right.
Trust me, I'm telling.
And the chat room is just like, this is supposed to be a tech show.
I agree with the chat room. I'm just saying.
You guys aren't doing.
But
There has to be
Ray says he
some
likes
kind of
provolone, so that
So-
way we got
so-
the cheese.
So when Joshua joined us before we began recording, he said, "I got a bone to pick with you, Laporte."
Yeah.
Yeah, Joshua.
Me and you.
Yeah, me and you, buddy, to the mat. So you did it again. You did it again. Look, here's Engadget from just the other day. MacBook Air, 11.6-inch, first hands-on! Exclamation mark. Update video! Exclamation mark.
Well, okay. So you had. Let's just go back.
That's the demo table. We were all there. Well, I wasn't. But
So on Windows Weekly, you complained that Engadget was we're just trying to get page views by posting hands-on from events.
you're not trying to get page views?
Well, we everything we do tries to get page views because that's how we run our business. You know, we need people to look at it or else we go away. But we've been doing hands-on posts from events since the dawn of Engadget, right? So that's something we do. Our readers want to see the stuff for real in the hands of a human being out in public, not on some like nice press shot. So that's the idea of the hands-on. The first hands-on, that's like our first hands-on. But, I mean, the idea is, I mean, it's our first encounter with the thing. But I would argue that there was no one else who had that hands-on up before we did on that day. So
actually, we beat you because we had the live video from.
Did you have detailed photos up before we did?
Well, how detailed? Let's see. Let me look. Is this detailed?
Detailed enough to consider them a hands-on.
Detailed. Well, no, but we had it. Yeah, I showed you the video before. I'm like, I'm not going to fight with you.
It's Steve Jobs. I didn't see even a device in that video, so I think.
Well, I just showed you the Steve Jobs interview. We actually had a hands-on, and Becky Worley's holding it up, and she's showing it in front of the camera and all that stuff. We did that live, so no, we did beat you, but we didn't put it on the front page of TWiT with exclamation. We got a. It's a demo. Everybody's there. What's the big deal?
Well, the big deal is it's not for our pride to say that we had the first hands-on. The big deal is our readers who aren't there, and that's
they want to see it.
Millions of people.
Right.
They want to see what this thing looks like in person. They want to see what it looks like next to a real MacBook. They want to know what it looks like next to an iPhone. They want to see the ports. They want to see the bottom of it. They want to see it open and closed. And that's what we do. I mean, the idea is we have gadget junkies who are sitting around waiting to get a closer look at this. Here, look, this is how big it looks compared to a regular MacBook. So that's the idea of the hands-on. It's to show the fanatics who are reading our site like what this thing actually looks like.
I stand corrected. I now understand your nomenclature. Hands-on means the first time we got our hands on this device. Doesn't matter where. It could be a demo event.
And it's not a you know, we're not trying to be disingenuous at all. It's the goal is to show people what the thing is actually like in person, in your hands, and give them a better idea of this product that they can get from a press shot. And I gotta say, these are some beautiful pictures I took.
They actually are. You took these? These are very nice.
Yeah, I took these. I mean, you don't know. This is this is the most stressful thing in the world at these events is we rush out after Jobs is done and we run to these tables and desperately try to get these photos as quickly as possible and get them online. You know, because there is a certain amount of a race going on because you want to get them. You want to be the first to get them out there.
Does that make a difference? Just out of curiosity, does that make a difference if Gizmodo beats you by 30 seconds? Is it just pride, or does it actually make any difference?
You know, I think a long time ago it made a bigger difference. I think now it's like we know that everybody's going to do the hands-on, and readers look at a bunch of different sites. They're not just reading Engadget, and that's great. I look at a bunch of different sites too. So I think we're still mentally we still think let's get this thing up there as quickly as possible, but I don't think the race is quite as intense as it used to be. Though I will say this, at the there was an event that we did, the iPad event. Nick Denton from Gawker bet me on Twitter $1,000 that Giz would get a hands-on faster than us. And we had ours up first, and Denton has yet to pay up. So
well, what a surprise there, huh?
He can send me a check for $1,000 whenever he feels ready. I've asked him, but he hasn't paid up. But that's the last time I actually remember thinking, like, we got to get this. Because somebody said while I was live blogging, they said Denton just challenged you to get photos. You know, they said Giz is going to get photos before you.
But doesn't this speak though to the way in which we're getting information? Now we're all in such information overload. I mean, and your readers depend on you guys, and they're not going off to other sources on a regular basis. I don't know how.
I don't know if that's true. Is that true? I think it's not. I think people are not so brand aware. I think do they even know nowadays? This was Engadget. Oh, this was a Gizmodo. They go to the web, they do a search, and they end up where they end up. I have a feeling that brand matters less.
I think a certain segment, the hardcore, they have their allegiances or they prefer the way one site does coverage over another. But then you've got a broader audience. That's the SEO audience, right? The search audience.
The ones you're optimizing for, yeah.
They're hitting, right. Well, they're hitting Google and they want to see, you know, who has coverage of this stuff, and whatever comes up first or second or third, they're going to go check out. I think that there is some delineation between the two, though. You've got people who are loyalists, right? I mean,
it's interesting. I'm looking at our chat room. There are some people who do go to Engadget first, and then there's some people who just say, I go wherever, it doesn't really matter. I think there's some animosity towards Gizmodo because of the iPhone 4 adventure. There's some people who actually disdain Gizmodo because of that.
Giz doesn't. Now they're not at these events anymore. They haven't been at the last few hours.
Yeah, they've not been invited. No, they haven't been invited, and I heard that right from someone.
You know why I haven't been invited?
They're not coming.
I want to check from Nick Denton because I was actually. This is really hands-on.
Here we go. Now you beat us. Is that what you're going to tell me?
I beat you. Absolutely. I beat everybody. But I'm not proud of that. That wasn't my finest moment.
But does it matter? You know, that's what I guess what I'm saying for TWiT. You know, as you always say, I mean, it's about analysis, right? And it's about context, and that's why I'd come to TWiT, right? I don't come to TWiT because I think I'm going to see a first hands-on.
No,
right?
in fact, I don't think we're in the. I mean, we're obviously not in the ball. First of all, we get far fewer views than Engadget or even Gizmodo. We're not in the same race as those guys. We're not a blog.
But yeah, it's totally different. I don't think of. I mean, I think of you guys as something. I mean, I would never think, oh, man, does TWiT have this stuff? Not because you couldn't get it or you're not covering it.
Well, no, in fact, I'm just pointing out, in 2 cases, we beat you, but I don't care. It's not about a race.
You beat us soundly, and I feel ashamed.
No, anyway, I do want to apologize.
There doesn't seem to be any monetary value in it.
Not for me.
Page views, but as we're pointing out, people really look at multiple sources rather than just a single source. So
Cali, you're in this business too. You cover. I mean, Geek Beat really is a gadget show primarily, right? So you cover this stuff too.
And I have the whole ego thing as well. I want to be the first out with the news. It's a lot harder for me because I produce video rather than putting up a blog post with some pictures. I also have a whole blog with a team of bloggers that do that, and so we are a little bit more into that. But I think, you know, it's interesting from a video podcaster perspective. We don't get sourced when we are the first out to market with something, not out to market, but out with the news, when we do actually have something that no one else has covered. So that's a whole other perspective. But I don't think that there's actually any monetary value to it.
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, monetary value in terms of for a publisher like us,
revenue. Yeah.
There's obviously value in having. There's obviously value in having it first, but I think that, you know, with us, we do these huge, like an Apple Day is a huge day for us because people want to see the live blog. Right. And then they expect this coverage to sort of roll out. They're there anyway, and they're looking for the rest of the coverage on this stuff. Right.
Isn't it interesting how Apple gets all this attention? Did you find, Joshua, when the Windows Phone 7 was launched, that there was equal attention and equal interest? No.
No, it's actually really crazy, to be honest with you. Google can have a big event. Microsoft has big events. Dell, Sony, you know, anybody who's gigantic, they do a big event, and the numbers are, it's staggering how different the numbers are on a Microsoft event day versus an Apple event day. I mean, a really significant difference in readership turnout, and I don't fully understand it. I mean, it is like Apple has mesmerized the gadget community or the industry in some way that is, you can't quantify it. It's just it's actually kind of magical.
Clayton, you cover the mainstream. You cover the mainstream, Clayton. So, do you think that that's reflected in the mainstream audience as well? That they care more about Apple than anything else?
Oh, sure. You know, when I post a story about Windows 7, or we post something on FoxNews.com, or we do it on my tech show, Gadgets and Games. I mean, people will say, "Oh, you know, I don't care about the." You know, Josh, you were on a few weeks ago. We were talking about the N8. You know, people are just, you know, they're not interested in it.
Well, the N8 is not that interesting.
Well, no, but I think the thing is, what you're saying is actually the thing that is causing these huge spikes in traffic and this huge interest. It is that Apple touches the mainstream in a way that a lot of these other companies don't. You know, Microsoft, everybody knows Microsoft, but for some reason, they don't connect with this large sort of casual audience the way Apple does. You know, Apple has this ability to pull in, you know, my mother or, you know, somebody's grandmother saying, hey, I heard there's going to be a Verizon iPhone, or stuff that you would never expect to hear from people who aren't interested in this industry, really. And I think that's part of where those numbers come from.
Well, and it's also reflected in the messaging, right? I mean, it's their advertising campaigns. I mean, it's, you know, Microsoft's all over the place, and you know, trying to understand what they're, you know, I was watching that Microsoft ad. I think it ran last night during the
during the game with the people staring at their phones and running into trees and stuff.
And it's something
That's
really
a terrible
struck me about
ad.
Yeah, something really struck me about that, and I thought, you know what? They're insulting all of us.
Yes,
because how do you sell a phone by you're basically pointing out you know, and Josh, you talk about this sometimes, the aspirational value of Sony, right? But, you know, Apple really paints that picture for people, that sort of aspirational value of things, whether it's FaceTime, their FaceTime commercial, but even, so this Microsoft commercial with everyone sort of falling asleep and crashing their car because they're looking at their cell phone, we all do that. It's a habit we have. So you're basically making fun of someone because they have this bad habit.
I don't mind that being, I crash into poles. I mean, I've got a big bump on my head from one time when I crashed into a pole because
Microsoft's message seems odd. It's saying our phone is not as engaging as theirs, so you'll be safer.
No, I think what they're trying to say, and maybe they're not doing a good job, I actually think those ads are pretty decent, but I think what they're trying to say is they're trying to address an audience that doesn't have a smartphone yet, and they see people. I actually feel like what they're doing is they're playing their base really well, where they're looking at the people who maybe haven't adopted smartphones yet and are looking at people with iPhones and BlackBerries, and they're constantly doing the, you know, I'm looking at my scrolling in my thing here. And I think the premise is off, Josh.
I think that premise is off because the value of a smartphone is that it is engaging. It's a PC now. And so
but there are a lot of people who just want to be able to do work when they need to, but they place a lot more value on their family time or doing things just that they love to do. There's a huge number of people that are that way. You know, we don't see that from day to day because we're total geeks, but
is this going to be a good strategy? Is Microsoft's going to pour $400 million into the ad campaign for Windows Phone 7?
Well, this is not going to be the only. This is not the only ad path they go down.
No, I understand.
I think that they're off to a decent start. I think those ads connect with people. I think a lot of people recognize that. I mean, let's be honest. We live in we're an increasingly distracted society, right? And it is kind of obnoxious that we're all looking at our devices. You know, I go to parties and I go out to dinner with people, and it's like groups of people just staring at these phones.
Right.
Like there's nothing else going on.
But is that the way to sell a smartphone?
But I think what they're saying is this is the smartphone that'll let you, this is their message, I know that.
It's get in and get out, I understand.
That'll let you do what you need to do and then get back to your real life.
But is that what people want? Or do they want Angry Birds?
I think they want both.
I think they want Angry Birds. I think they want a phone that engages them. And yes, they don't like it that people are walking into trees. We'd like not to do that. But we don't want a phone that is not engaging so that it saves us from ourselves. We want a phone that engages us.
No, and you need to explain the narrative, right? It's like politics, and it's why certain kids, it's why we're seeing Linda McMahon having trouble right up and down in Connecticut with her messaging and her ad campaign. She's saying the same old thing, and her poll numbers have plummeted. And now it looks like Richard Blumenthal is going to take that race. She's been saying the same thing for 2 months. I was talking to a pollster about this. So what Apple does is they sort of build a narrative. Microsoft is going to try to build a narrative. And if you think about building the narrative like the Jerry Seinfeld, Bill Gates crap.
Well, that was not a narrative. That was just nonsense.
No, it was. It was. They were trying to
build never finished it is the problem.
Right. And so Microsoft is trying, Josh, to your point, you know, Microsoft's trying to build this narrative, this story arc. They're laying the groundwork now that we're all too engaged in our phones. What's the next step? Do we finally then see the phone?
I'll tell you what the next step is. Right now, they're selling the philosophy of Windows Phone 7, which is get in, get out, get back to your life. That's literally their tagline, right? They're saying that everywhere they can. So the next step is going to be they're going to show how the product. They actually just did it with. They've been doing this with Bing. I don't know if you've noticed that they had this ad campaign with Bing where they have the information, the search overload ads, right?
Yeah, that also makes me, it looks like a bunch of crazy people.
Those ads have been they've worked really well for them.
Have they?
People identify with the idea that they go searching for something and they just get a bunch of crap that they don't want. And so Bing's saying, look, here's your problem. Here's the philosophy.
Right.
Your problem is we've got search overload. Now they have new ads. I don't know if you've seen them, but they show what Bing does. They show how it works. They show it has a little music player. It's got this search window that looks like this. It does image search like that. So I think they're going to follow a very similar path with Windows Phone 7. They're going to say, look, we have a problem. People are staring at their devices and they're not paying attention to their real life. And these devices are complicated and annoying.
These are the people who are. These are the crazy people.
But I don't buy that, though. I don't believe, Josh. Do you buy that the iPhone 4 or that iOS is complicated?
No, I don't. But then again, I'm not.
You're not the target for these ads.
I'm not look. Smartphone ownership is like 19% in America. Okay, that means there is a huge market that they've never touched a smartphone, never played with one, don't know if they want one. They're thinking about getting it, but so the market is not the 19% that has the iPhone and the Nokia or whatever else they've got. I don't think they have a Nokia, but they've got some Android phones.
It's BlackBerry, iPhone, and Android. Although, if you listen to Steve Jobs talk, obviously the only thing that worries him at all is Android, because that's all he's ever talking about.
Oh, Android's not a problem. It doesn't even matter.
It's fragmented.
But the market for Microsoft is, and Steve Ballmer has said this a lot, it's the people who haven't bought the smartphone yet. It's the market that doesn't exist
it's a big
yet.
bet. They're spending a lot of money. They're laying a lot of money on that bet. It'd be very interesting to see how well it does for them. I mean, we don't know, but I agree with you. That's obviously what they're saying is, well, we kind of, basically what they're saying is we've lost that group to Apple and Android.
The first wave. But
the first
second
wave. So we're going to go after the second wave. I think there's a big question of whether that second, you look at, it's like selling, it's like selling a pork, a Philly cheesesteak to a vegetarian. I mean, maybe those people don't want a smartphone. Maybe the reason those people don't have it is because they don't need it.
No, they want a smartphone.
Or they don't know that they want it. Once they taste that Philly cheesesteak,
yeah, they won't be able to put it down. No, but Leo, I think that actually is a really interesting point. I think that they do want it, but I think that there is a feeling. A lot of people have a feeling of, what's the word I'm looking for? They are kind of annoyed by people who own iPhones and Blackberries. They think they're Ponzi.
Everybody's annoyed by Apple folks.
No, but I think, right, and I think that those people are like, I want a phone that is about me and isn't for these New York jerks who are, driving their BMW.
You could say it, Joshua. They're Jews. It's the phone for Jews. That's what you're saying.
Jews in New York.
That's, New York.
I don't know. I don't think, Cali.
By the way, I apologize to the Jewish people who are listening to this show. That was not intended as a slur in any way. I'm going to be
hurtful to me, Leo.
So sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you for going down that horrible road.
NPR is going to fire me as a commentator now. My career is shot.
No, the only way they do that is if you put on one of your communist hats.
Well, I would never do that. Where is that?
Here we go. Here we go.
Now, this is going to get me a job on Fox as a commentator, isn't it? I think it is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Clayton, this is how you got your job, right?
Right. I was in a full outfit. I just had one of the Dear Leader outfits that you can pick up down at the Halloween Emporium.
Is this the opposite of how you'd get hired at Fox? Don't you need to put on like a tea hat or a...
There is no tea hat. What are you talking about?
A teapot hat or something.
Tea hat.
What are you talking about?
They don't wear hats. That's Ponzi.
They're bald.
All right, moving along. Steve Jobs gets on the as long as we're in the app. First of all, how do you like the Air? You were the guy with the hands on. You like that, Joshua? It's a nice piece of meat. Is it nice?
Are you willing to accept my hands on?
I will touch your hands and love them.
The Airs, they're really nice pieces of hardware. I mean, the 11.6 inch. I have it here somewhere, but it's not in this room. They're really sexy as far as hardware goes. The external hardware. Internally, they are not powerhouses.
They're low and slow. But people are saying with his SSDs, they're running pretty fast. They feel snappy.
They're fast, but I got to tell you, I mean, going from a MacBook Pro, like a pretty fast MacBook Pro, to the Air, there's a noticeable difference in terms of graphics and scrolling and stuff like that.
Let's have an unboxing. This is a hands-on.
Yeah, actually, it's downstairs. I was using it all day, but here's the box. But
now, is that the big one or the little one?
I got the 11-inch, and I'm a huge fan of it. I mean, I got it.
I bought the little one. I bought the cheapest little one that they had.
The 11.6 inch, and it's beautiful. I mean, look, again, I mean, I use.
It's a nice box.
I'm talking to you right now on here. The box. It's downstairs. She was using it earlier, so she's got to write her show tomorrow, so she's using it right now. But I'm using the 15-inch MacBook Pro, and I'm just all about heft these days. I just don't want to have to carry the 6 or 7 pound. How much is it? 6 pounds, 7 pounds? The MacBook Pro.
I think it's like 6, something like that.
And quite honestly, I could be doing this right now with an HD webcam and an external microphone plugged into the MacBook Air and be fine doing that. And that's about, unless you're doing heavy video editing and unless you're doing a lot of heavy audio editing, you're not going to be using that. It's not a pro machine, and you're not going to be using it for that purpose. I mean, it's a great.
Callie, did you get one? Have you got one yet?
No, I haven't gotten one because I've been, haven't even
you're out of town.
Gone to the store to get one because I've been, traveling here to Atlanta. But at first, my initial, I don't know, I have something against the Air just from the beginnings of it. But
Yeah.
I think I'm once I actually get my hands on it, I think I'll kind of turn around. I love that it's, you know, solid state. So I think the specs are looking really good. And
the first ones, the original ones, Cali, you're right. Were you couldn't recommend them. Overpowered,
right.
Underpowered, overpriced. It didn't make any sense. It was the only laptop in their lineup that just didn't. You would say, why would you get an Air? I would see people with Airs, and I would say, why do you have that?
Right.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
And they were actually kind of poorly made. You know, Paul Miller, one of our editors, had one. The hinge broke, the logic board died, now it won't boot properly. I mean, they had
a lot of problems with them, didn't
they?
they?
I think they were experimenting
Overheating.
with a bunch of new ideas about how to build stuff, and those ended up being, you know, they're kind of this weird sort of black sheep of the family. And
They
the new
are
ones make a lot more
essentially,
sense.
this one is essentially a netbook that's cost twice as much, though, right?
Well, it's more powerful than a lot of the netbooks that are out there.
Is
but
it?
it's
Okay.
Yeah, but
And
it's
it's
also
much
way less
sturdier
powerful
too.
than
A lot of the
regular
netbooks are
laptop.
crappy plastic.
They all feel
I mean,
cheesy. Yeah, they all feel cheesy.
And the netbooks don't have this.
That is kind of neat. This he's showing a USB key, and this is where they put the software, the operating system, and so forth.
It's the recovery, yeah. I mean, look, let's be honest. The day of the optical drive is really coming to an end. I mean, I do believe that. I think that pretty soon most people are going to have fast enough connections to be able to get software online and not be installing stuff on disks. So I think that's a smart move. The thing about the Air is they are very expensive given how powerful they are. I mean, the little one for $1,000, it's a good price for an app. You think, oh, that's a pretty cheap Apple computer.
It also feels like it fits into the product, like the product line. You kind of got the iPhone, then you got the iPad. Then it seems like a logical next step to go to the Air, and then the 13-inch. It just feels like that's a kind of almost a linear.
Yeah, but what about the MacBook? $999.
I think that
Same price.
that's got to be dead, right?
No. I mean, that's an
It's
actual
a student.
regular laptop.
You know who buys a lot of those? Schools. It's a students because
Sure.
it's much more robust than the metal ones. You can throw it around. So that's an educational.
It's also more powerful, and it has an optical drive, and it's a regular computer. Make no mistake about it. The Air, at least the little Air, doesn't really seem like. You wouldn't think, like, I'm going to get rid of my full-size MacBook and I'm going to use this as my main thing. I mean, if you just do email, some web browsing, watching videos on YouTube, you'll probably be fine with it. It is very much Apple's netbook, but, I mean, it's a much higher-end device than a netbook in terms of build quality and some of the components they're using.
And Josh, don't forget the sex appeal of it. I mean, I'm telling you what, every woman in the office that I pulled it out and showed it to said, that's hot.
Dear.
They said, that's hot.
They said they liked your 11-inch.
It is a really sexy device. I mean, you know, it's sort of horrible to describe products as sexy, but it is kind of like sex.
It is kind of sexy. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Well,
the Vivian Tam edition sold months. Didn't the Vivian Tam edition for HP do bonker sales?
That wasn't sexy though.
Yeah,
that
did pretty well. I have one of those. It's pretty and nice and everything, but 6 months, maybe a year down the road, it doesn't work anymore.
Right. The Vivian Tam was the nice girl. No, the good girl, and the MacBook Air is the nice girl. Or is it the other? I never can remember.
I think it's Vivian Tam was the slightly less expensive girl, and Apple is the pricey
Cali,
girl.
I just want to apologize. How many people have I offended now so far? I think the Koreans, the Jews, the girls,
women,
Phillies
fans. Is there
You can
anybody?
offend me, don't
Is there
worry.
anybody left?
Tea Party members.
Tea Party members.
You know, I think
Communists.
I offended Tea Party members.
Well.
Covered all your
I
bases.
just wonder, with the whole USB thing, the software being on the USB sticks, I wonder if that's going to kind of generate a whole new education need for how to go about dealing with software. Because people who are used to the whole CD thing, are they going to get all confused, and is it going to create a big issue, or is it going to be fairly natural for them? And I'm not
now
really
you have
sure
the App Store.
Think about it. Let me do it. Well, I'm going to get into that subject because I think that's actually the hottest topic of the week. But we'll talk about that in a second. But think about it. I'm going to ask each of you, when's the last time you used the DVD or CD player or burner in your laptop? Clayton, when's the last time you used it?
I used one time. I went to my mom's house and she had some random Neil Diamond CD. I was like, oh, this is too good to pass up. And I grabbed it and I burned a Neil Diamond collection.
You use it to rip Neil.
Yeah, that's one time. I've never once put a DVD in this, and it's got a great
I think that's
DVD
fairly
player.
common. Joshua, do you use the CD player in your laptop? No.
I had to install Photoshop or something, and I used the DVD
There
drive.
you go. Installation.
There's another way to do it.
Installation.
No, I mean, what am I doing? I'm ripping, Nirvana CDs. That's not happening.
How about you, Cali? You use the CD or DVD drive in your laptop?
3 times a year for installation or ripping.
So I really think that's not. I think that's like the floppy. It's you can actually get rid of it now.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, look, most of the programs I have on my computer. I mean, the 99% of the programs I have on my computer, I installed. I downloaded them. Yeah. Which is why. Should we segue?
We're going to segue, but we got to take a break. We were going to segue because I think this is actually Apple's. This says more about Apple than anything that they announced this week. Yeah. Even Steve Jobs' ridiculous phone call, which I guess we could play a recording of. Apple announces an app store. And by the way, so does Mozilla. And we even saw Microsoft with that leaked slide stack on Windows 8 say, we want to do an app store. App stores are coming because of the success of the iPhone. We'll talk about that in a second. Before we do, though, I want to mention our friends at Citrix. In fact, hosts, if you'd like to take a little break, we've got Clayton Morris with us. This would be a good time. You could get out of that Giants outfit. It must be driving you crazy.
You can keep a bird's nest in this thing.
His 50-cent hat. Joshua Topolsky from Engadget, Cali Lewis from geekbeat.tv. It's great to have all three of you. Take a break. We're going to talk a little bit about Citrix, the folks who do all those great remote access products. In fact, when it comes to enterprise, Citrix is the remote access solution for Windows. They also have great consumer products. We've talked about all of them. Go to My PC is the one I'd like to tell you about right now. It is the best way to do a remote access to any Mac or Windows PC. It's as secure as online banking, uses under 28-bit SSL, so you can even be at the Starbucks or the McDonald's, the open access point, using it, and nobody's snooping on you. You can do anything you want. In fact, you can use it as a VPN, because if you want to surf safely at an open access point, all you do is you fire up your computer, go to mypc.com, enter in your secure credentials. Now you've gone to your office computer, you surf from there, and you're completely secure. I think it's a really great solution. Here's the deal. You can install it right now and try it free for 30 days. Go to mypc.com/twit, GOTOMYPC.com/twit. 30 days unlimited use for free. And now, anywhere you go, as you travel the world, an internet cafe, a home in the garden, wherever you are, you can log on to mypc.com and use that office computer. You can send and receive email, run any program, access any network resource. It's all there, just as if you were there, full screen. Very easy to set up. PC World just gave it their world-class award for best remote access software. Try it free, 30 days. Go to mypc.com. We thank them for their support of This Week in Tech. Some nice people there at the Citrix place. So
I signed up for it during the spot, actually.
Isn't that great? You see how? You see, it's just Clayton, you can't have a Phillies hat and take off the Giants. Go ahead, take it off. Take off the Giants t-shirt.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just put this on because I didn't want people to see me.
The invisible Philly.
Yeah.
No, you're a good sport, Clayton, and you you went down and got the air. You stole that from Natalie. That was nice of you.
Yeah.
Or is it Miles'
No, that
computer?
was nice of Natalie to allow him.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
No, it's mine.
So adorable.
Anyway, sorry.
No, show us more. I want to see more. This is nice. So
this is great. And one of the nice things we did, we showed this on my show on Friday. We got a little stopwatch out.
Yeah.
And let's just do a straight
boot time.
Yeah, let's.
I put a Corsair SSD into my 15-inch MacBook from a year ago, and it does make a huge difference in boot time.
Yeah, I was going to say about this. People are making a big deal about the boot time, but if you put an SSD in any MacBook,
sure,
modern MacBook, it will boot very, very quickly. Mine
even in the new iMacs, those new iMacs with the SSD where Snow Leopard boots off the SSD are fantastic.
Joshua, do you know whose drive Apple is using in here?
Well, this actually isn't a drive. They are hardwiring.
Oh yes, surface mounted.
Flash to the logic board.
So whose controller, I guess, is what I should ask.
I don't know. iFixit had a teardown. They certainly have that information.
Yeah.
I should, of course, know it.
Our solid state guy, Alan Malventano, I think said it's using a SandForce controller, which is as good as you can get.
So get your stopwatches out. We did 14 seconds on this.
Okay, ready?
Yeah, ready,
set,
and go.
Boom. Oh, there's blue. It's blue. There's the Apple. Now, of course, it only has 2 gigs of RAM, so it's not doing a very big, long power-on self-test. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 seconds to desktop.
This is. I just want to say that this is fast, but pretty common for SSDs on Mac.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
They say this is not the instant on they're talking about. I don't know. There hasn't been a big distinction made about this. When they say instant on, what they're talking about is
from sleep.
When you close a normal MacBook, it goes to sleep, right? It's in a low power mode, but it's not in some kind of crazy hibernation. So these new devices, when you close them after an hour of being closed, they go into some kind of deep sleep, like a hibernation. Now, when you open them, they start right back up from that. That's what Apple's calling instant on, because you can sleep them for 30 days.
They say instant on with the iPad too, and if you turn it off, it is not instant on. But
what they really mean is resume, instant
resume. And Apple's always been better at that than Windows machines. Windows machines usually take a little bit to get going again. But I've found always that even laptops, all OS X laptops, start up pretty quickly.
Your Windows boots are still fairly painful to me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Even Windows 7 machines. I mean, you can go literally and have breakfast.
I have to say, though, Steve Jobs' relationship with the truth is a little bit fuzzy.
Or non-existent.
I wish you had a phone call that would capture the essence of that fuzziness.
Just a little
only
bit.
You did.
He sounds, by the way, on this phone call, he sounds like...
Best earnings call ever. Can I just say that? Best earnings call.
I wish I'd been on this call. He sounds amazing. Like a little old man or something.
We were freaking out when we heard this.
Were you on the call?
Yeah, we were on the call, and it was just like, what is going on? This whole thing is totally off the rails and amazing. Whenever Steve Jobs is just talking intimately about how he feels, it is magic.
Well, now he's reading. It's apparent. If you listen to it, it's apparent he's leading.
Google loves to characterize Android as open and iOS and iPhone as closed. We find this a bit disingenuous and...
Wait for it. Here comes the best part.
...clouding the real difference between our two approaches. The first thing most of us think about when we hear the word open is Windows.
What? Is that the first thing you think about when you think of open? Windows? Oh, Windows, like opening the window? What?
I think what he means is, and obviously the first thing that everybody thinks about is like, you think Linux or open source.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. First thing I think of is Windows. Open Windows.
But I mean, most people. I mean, he knew this was going to trickle into the Wall Street Journal.
He's not using open in the same way that I'm using open.
He means like you can develop whatever you want for Windows, and you can put whatever kind of software.
What's the most closed device in the market today? The iPhone and iPad.
That's not necessarily a bad. I mean, we have to admit that it's not necessarily.
I'm not saying
a bad
it's bad,
thing.
but Steve Jobs is saying we're the open choice like Windows. I mean, it's very confusing to me.
Well, he's
using a different definition
of the truth.
I mean, there's this weird definition of open, and then there are certainly some great posts this week about what it means to be open, whether or not Android is open. I think even Leo, didn't you even ask that on?
We did
Twitter
on Twig. In fact, we did this conversation on Twig into great detail. I won't play all of his call. I just thought that was a funny.
Which is available.
But there's also this. I mean, in the computer industry, or the gadget industry, we all think. I mean, there does seem to be this feeling like open is better. If the more open, the better it is. And that's true in a lot of cases. But it's not true in every case. I
understand, but that's not the argument Steve Jobs is making. He's saying...
No, Steve Jobs is just saying...
Android is closed.
What he's really saying is it's a smoke screen. It's not really open. They're lying to their customers, and they're actually closed, and it's no different than what anybody else is doing, because he wants to diminish their selling point.
Yeah,
right?
He's obviously scared to death of Android.
Well, he should be. I mean, they're becoming the Windows of smartphones. I mean, if you don't see a parallel between...
Wait a minute, but Windows is open.
No, but look, that's the thing. With Windows, you could pay a license fee and put it on whatever you wanted, and you could make any manipulations you wanted for the most part. Well,
that's what's funny about this, because Android is much closer to Windows, frankly.
And I think that's his fear, is that they're going to do what Windows did, which is they started later... Right?
He doesn't need to fear anything. They sold 14.1 million iPhones in 3 months. He's making billion. He made $4 billion in profits this quarter.
So should he have said Linux?
Should he have said nothing? He should have just shut up, because he's not.
Linux is the enemy.
I get this big feeling lately that obviously he's not going to be around much longer. He can't stick around forever, right? So he is trying to make moves. No, he's not that old. He's sick, he's getting better, all of that. But he will have to move on at some point, and people will have to take over his position. And get the feeling over and over again that he's trying to put himself and Apple in general in a position of authority. Obviously, they already are, but I keep getting this impression that he's just trying to say that loud and clear that they are the best, that they are, you know, in a position of authority and doing it right, and everybody else is doing it wrong before he walks out the door. Maybe I'm crazy, but
no, that's
what I
interesting.
keep feeling.
I think Steve Jobs has a history of letting people know that they have the right idea and everybody else has the wrong idea. I mean, if you go back to the great interview with him where he talks about how Microsoft has such bad taste.
No, but he believes that. I mean, it's not when he says that, he really believes that firmly.
He really believes everything he's saying. I don't think Steve Jobs is
no,
faking
I disagree.
I think Steve Jobs is
I think there's two Steve Jobs.
Manipulating.
Yeah.
I think he's manipulating with the way he describes certain things, but I do believe that he says what he means.
I disagree because remember
earnings call.
Remember,
I mean, that's what's weird for me.
He said, for instance, nobody's ever going to want to watch video on a small device. He said, for instance, nobody's ever going to want to read a book on a portable device. He says things that he knows are untrue all the time.
You know, that's true. He actually does do that weird thing where he says the very opposite, and then immediately
no one will ever want a 7-inch tablet. He said,
and he also lied to Becky Worley this week when he said that you don't need a bag for your MacBook Air. He knows that you do.
So here's my opinion. Let me finish the thought. Here's my opinion on Steve. I love Steve. He's a brilliant guy. There are two Steves. There is a Steve who is a brilliant businessman and marketer who will say what he needs to say to forward Apple as a business. There's also a Steve, and I think this is the fundamental Steve, who believes in products, who believes in making great stuff. And I think you can listen to every single thing Steve says with both minds, and it's instructive to listen with both minds. So when he says a 7-inch tablet is wrong, if you listen with the marketer's mind, you know what he's really saying is don't buy that 7-inch tablet because wait till 2011. But and if you listen with the product mind, I think he genuinely says, no, it's the wrong form factor, it's the wrong size, it doesn't feel right to me. And I think both of those are instructive.
Yeah, because the proof is in the pudding. I mean, the proof is what sales, you know, what ends up getting sold. And my mom or, you know, my dad, she's not listening to an Apple earnings call and listening to the nuance of Steve Jobs' voice. She's going to go to an Apple store and she's going to put her, you know, hands on a new MacBook Air and say, "Ooh, I'm looking for a new laptop." And at the end of the day, if she buys it, that's why.
So who was the audience for this?
It was analysts and journalists.
But I mean, why did he do that? What was the important?
Oh, well, the trickle down. I mean, this will get out there. I mean, look, it's all this stuff trickles down, and what Steve Jobs says on an earnings call ends up in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, and regular people read that stuff.
And he's super smart, so he probably knew that only a tagline would be remembered. So what are the three sentences that are going to get reported in the popular press from this call? What is the import of this call? Don't buy a 7-inch tablet. Android is not what it appears to be. In fact, it kind of underscores there's fear in the world that Google might be a little bit shady.
Well, you're also. What about the part where he went crazy about? He just totally dissed RIM for the first part of that. He just got on and was talking about how RIM is suffering and they're going to have a really hard time getting their act together. And it was just like weird for 2 or 3 minutes.
That was gratuitous.
He just talked about how bad he hates RIM and how stupid they are.
You beat him, Steve. That's just hitting a guy when they're down.
He hasn't beat them yet, actually.
You don't think so?
Well, they still have a huge market share. People are very loyal to their BlackBerries.
First time, though, this quarter, the first time ever that Apple outsold BlackBerry.
Oh, well,
do we have any numbers? Do we have any numbers on businesses that are using iPhones instead of BlackBerries at this point?
That's a good question.
There's been a bit of an well, I mean, I know I can speak to some of the big, large businesses that are in our building. There's been a freeze put on iPhone purchases. I mean, and I don't know what that speaks to. Security, I'm not sure, and I certainly haven't spoken to the appropriate people there to find out. But I've heard this from a couple of different people at some different big companies within our same building, and I don't know if there's some backlash against it. They're waiting. Maybe they're waiting to have broader BlackBerry integration again. And I don't know if the Torch was enough for them to say, all right, we're coming back to the table for the Torch. A lot of them are on AT&T, so I'm not really sure. But I don't know that it's. I don't think it was a runaway iPhone enterprise extravaganza. It was for a little while.
There's been some adoption, but look, enterprise and IT guys don't change quickly.
Right.
And there's a lot of problems with the iPhone for enterprise. I mean, they've gone to great lengths to fix those problems, but you're not going to see big companies saying, you know what, throw the BlackBerries out, let's get everybody an iPhone. It's not good business for them at this point, I think, to do that.
I'll tell you what's changed, and I think Microsoft's looking at this, and I know Apple is that in corporate, it used to be that the IT department chose your phone for you. And I think increasingly we're seeing people bring their phones into the corporate and say, integrate my phone. So that's the change. And I think both Apple and Microsoft both are aiming not at business anymore, but at individuals who they hope will bring those devices into the enterprise.
Well, now you can do that. I mean, a few years ago, nobody had a smartphone, right, for their regular phone. Everybody had a Razr or some dumb phone. And so you'd go to work and everybody had a BlackBerry because their job gave them a BlackBerry they had to use. And now it's the opposite. You have a really advanced phone that you buy just to use for your phone. So the opportunity is there to bring it in and say, hey, let's use this instead of that terrible curve you're trying to give me.
Yeah, that's exactly what I got, a curve. And we had a number of executives who said, I want an iPhone. And they actually had them get an iPhone. And now they're all walking around with iPhones. And then suddenly you saw this movement, this groundswell, where it seemed like the IT department was going to start handing out iPhones to everyone. They handed them out to reporters so they could do live streaming and stuff like that. But, you know, you don't have... There wasn't this massive adoption. Now there's been a bit of a freeze on it. So, but you had all these executives walking around with iPhones, and everyone else was being handed BlackBerry curves.
You can hear the disappointment in Clayton's voice there, by the way.
Guess who got it? Guess who did not get an iPhone?
You got a curve.
I had to buy my own curve. I had to buy my own iPhone.
So, but I think that it's interesting that Microsoft, which normally would be aiming at the IT department, certainly did with Windows Mobile for years, is now aiming obviously at end users.
And they've aimed away from enterprise. I mean, this is a distinctly not non-enterprise play for them for Windows Phone 7.
Let's talk about the App Store, because I think this is, of all the things Apple announced, I think the Air is a great product. I, of course, ordered one immediately. I think, you know, iLife, there's lots of, they went on and on with the iLife. They could have really cut that short. Was that your experience, Joshua, sitting in there?
It's painful. I mean, just painful. Listening to Phil Schiller talk about iPhoto, I mean, all due respect to Phil Schiller, I'm sure there's some great features in iPhoto, and I'm sure he took some wonderful family vacations that he wanted to show us his fake pictures of. But it is truly, truly a test of one's willpower to live blog a description of how to use the iPhoto Faces function.
Why are you a photo book hater, Josh? A snowflake photo book
I'm not a hater. It's just that... come on. I mean, they spent like
he doesn't have a baby.
5 minutes running through the island. No, you know, it's funny. My wife, Laura, who also writes for the site, was saying, when we have a baby, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But right now...
All the trailers. Trailers was a good feature. I mean, I think, you know...
Yeah, but they went on. Oh, God, that trailer took him 10 minutes to make a trailer. It's like, that's not the point, right? You want to show this fast? And he's going, well,
it was fast for making a trip.
Let's look back at history. Any software keynotes that they do are like that.
I guess.
We were just hoping for the Air, so it was more annoying.
I get it.
I wanted to see more of Lion, though, to be honest with you. I wanted to see more of Lion. Remember, we saw, you know, at least the update to Snow Leopard. We saw a long demo of Snow Leopard. We didn't see anything, hardly anything of Lion.
I don't think they had that much to show, but I think after, Cali, to what you're saying, I think after years and years of iPhoto demos with very small changes, I think, really incremental. I think after iPhoto 8, 9, and 10, the 11 demo could have been, you know, 5 minutes.
Yeah, we kind of
This is really awesome. You're going to love it. Let's move on with our lives.
Yeah. So iLife, you're right. They didn't mention much with Tiger, although they mentioned, I think, the most important thing, which is this new mission control, which takes expose and space. I don't know. It bundles all this stuff. But really, the whole thing here is, and you started to see this with iLife, full screen, a la the iPad, and an app store, a la the iPhone and iPad. And I thought that was a big tidal shift in how Apple thinks about its desktops.
It's cleaning up the desktop. It's getting rid of the clutter. And I'm finding, you know, we were talking about information overload in the sort of the pre-show about things. And I have to say, having an app that runs full screen, you're singularly focused on that one app, whether it's iPhoto, you don't have you don't have TweetDeck running on the side while you're doing other things. You can focus on making that photo book of your kid. You can do this one thing, and then you can close the, you can close your laptop and you can go do other things. But it's full screen. It's beautiful, and I'm excited about that because I've got multiple windows. I'm constantly switching, and I can't get anything done half the time because I end up having all of these windows open.
I
But don't you think
opposite.
you're actually going to do the same thing? You're just going to escape out of the full screen mode, won't you? I mean,
If you can.
you know that it's there. If you can.
You can.
Yeah.
Joshua,
I'm waiting to see what happens with the iPad because as soon as I get, I love the iPad for reading, and I'm worried now with multitasking. Am I going to be hitting that button all the time, double tapping that home button? I'm going to have multiple things running.
Well, that's what full screen does, right? Is it makes you, it becomes very, this is kind of what Apple originally inveighed against in their user interface guidelines was modality. You don't want to be modal. And you don't want anything to take over the system. This is a significant change in how they think about operating systems. Joshua, you said you disagree with Clayton's assessment.
I think the idea of a full screen application is one of the most obnoxious things in the world. Like the idea that I would want my laptop to have just one task happening. Maybe if I'm doing some intense photo editing, okay, I just want to focus on that. But to me, one of the greatest things about a desktop or laptop computer, and one of the things that is so lacking on an iPhone, or particularly on the iPhone and the iPad, is there is no glanceable information. There are no notifications. There's none of this extra information that I need to have. Like Twitter, for instance, it's important for me to have a Twitter window open and somewhat visible to me all the time because people ask me questions and say stuff to me on Twitter constantly throughout the day, and I want to be able to respond to those people right then and there. Twitter keeps moving, it's not a static thing. So, same with IM clients, and I think that the idea of having this single application experience is really not satisfying to me in any meaningful way, and it's somewhat disappointing to see Apple pushing the paradigm of the iPad into their desktop space or laptop space, because I think it's actually it's a bad move. I think it goes in the wrong direction for computing.
But because I agree with you, because I have that many windows up on mine too. But I come back to the general consumer again. For the general consumer, is it a bad thing? It's bad for Josh maybe, and it's bad for Clayton, but it might be bad for Cali and Leah.
Definitely.
What's funny is that this actually goes back to what Microsoft is doing with the Windows Phone 7 as that we were talking about. I mean, they're saying the same thing, right? Don't unitask, don't have all this confusing stuff. Just, get in, get out, and get on with your life. This is the same idea. Let's simplify. Let's make it, you got a single task, get that task done, and, get on to whatever, get on to taking more pictures of your kids. Well, I killed the conversation, haven't I?
No. We're waiting. We're thinking. We're pondering.
I agree with Joshua. It's I certainly don't want to live my life that way. I have things that I need. I need those notifications. I need to know when I'm getting an email that I've expected for hours on end. I need that in order to work efficiently. Now you can take the other side of that, and maybe I would actually work a little bit more efficiently if I'm focusing on one task. But there's so much that we do that is back and forth between apps. So do I want full screen mode? I think we just need clarification.
I guess I'm okay if I have the choice, and I think you all are okay if you have the choice. And that's
so choice is fine.
If you're Clayton's imaginary neophyte user, you can use the full screen. If you're a multitasker like us, you could use. But my concern, and completely fallacious, and I'm probably just being paranoid though, is that Apple is not going to give us choice in the long run. Apple.
No, your concern is well. That's a well-placed concern, because the truth is that they may give us the choice at the beginning, but Apple doesn't actually want you. It's clear from what Steve Jobs was saying at this event and from what they've been doing on the iPad and the iPhone, that they don't actually want you to have a bunch of. They don't want you to deal with window management. This is what they're trying to do.
That's right. There was a fight very early on when Steve Jobs went to Xerox PARC and first saw a windowing interface. There was a fight in the earliest days of technology between overlapping windows and tiled windows, and this was a very academic fight, but it was really about fundamentally how people use computers, whether they multitask or whether they want to see the entire thing that's going on at once, and overlapping windows won. But it looks like, I have to say, very regressive. It's almost like going back to DOS. We're going back to a day where not only are they not overlapping anymore, but there's one window. And I think you have to tie this into the App Store, because it's really a two-pronged attack on complexity. I think Apple's saying, Computers are too hard to use. We've had huge success with the iOS. Normal people really like this kind of simple interface. Why don't we bring this to the desktop? Wouldn't we do well? And there's some additional benefits because you have the App Store. Now we tightly control the chain. We tightly control security.
And are we starting to see that already with this, which is not shipping with Flash?
There's no Flash on it. Now you can't install it right now.
Sure.
Right.
There's no Java on it either.
That's a somewhat separate issue. But what you're saying about the App Store is, I mean, look, they like to control things, right? They like to have a clean, uncluttered space.
And their argument, and this is where you wear two hats as Steve Jobs. One argument is it's great for business because we control it all. The other argument is it's great for users. Steve Jobs is thinking, well, this makes it a cleaner, nicer, simpler. It's Zen.
Well, it is. It is better for users, and it's better for Apple as well, and it's actually better for developers. Developers have found gold mines in the App Store.
Yeah, clearly.
The thing is, it's better for users as long as, and the problem is the as long as Apple keeps letting you install and use apps the way you do it now.
As long as we have choice, I'm okay.
If there's choice, right? If there's a choice between full screen and windowed, if there's choice between App Store and self-install or side load, however you want to refer to it, the concern here is, and look, honestly, when the day comes, if it's like it's only the App Store,
then we can take to the streets. Then
then it's like people are going to jump ship. I mean, there will be a significant number of people who jump ship.
Yep.
You know, the iPhone is new. The iPad is new. These are devices that didn't exist. Computers have been around for a long time, and people are very used to the way they use computers and very comfortable with the way they use computers. They're not just going to be able to make a big sea change and say, well, guess what? You can't sideload an app on your computer anymore, and people are just going to accept it. Some people will. A lot of people won't.
You had a great article. You had a great article. Listen to this from Engadget on the iOS App Store review guidelines. And I think this is kind of telling when you listen to these rules. These are the rules that are going to be in effect for the App Store when it launches in 3 months.
It's kind of scary.
Apps that crash will be rejected. Okay. Apps that exhibit bugs will be rejected. Apps that are beta, demo, trial, or test versions will be rejected. So no more will you be able to, for instance, use a beta of Chrome. Apps must be packaged and submitted using Apple's packaging technologies included in Xcode. No third-party installers allowed. I wonder how much tie-in there is into Xcode at this point. Apps that require, this is really interesting, apps that require license keys or implement their own copy protection will be rejected. But Apple doesn't have its own copy protection yet. In fact, Apple's own products require serial numbers, so many of them. The Pro apps. Apple, and this is really weird, apps that present a license screen at launch will be rejected. Like iTunes? Yeah, like iTunes. Apps may not use update mechanisms outside the App Store. You're starting to see some lock-in here. Apps that use deprecated or optionally installed technologies, for example, and this is in Apple's own words, Java or Rosetta, will be rejected. Apps that look similar to Apple products or apps bundled on the Mac.
Yeah, this rule is crazy to me, but it's also, this rule also did exist at some point on the iPhone, and they have somewhat relaxed.
Somewhat, but you can't get an alternative keyboard. You now can get alternative browsers.
You can't get an alternative keyboard, but you can get alternative browsers, mail clients.
But they've used this before. They've used this before to kill competitive products on the iPhone.
It's BS. I mean, that is an absolute garbage rule.
It says apps that look similar to Apple products will be rejected, including the Finder, iChat, iTunes, and Dashboard. In other words,
I mean, how specific are they talking about? That's the question. Do they mean if it looks exactly like iTunes, you can't do it? Okay, I get that. But if it's a music player application,
Double Twist. I use Double Twist to sync to Android phones on my Mac.
Does that look enough like iTunes to Apple for them to say you're not allowed to put it in the store? I mean, that's problematic.
What about, I mean, I love what you also said, too, which is funny because it happens to me all the time. I use GarageBand on a regular basis, but I use it on a regular basis, and it crashes all the time. And so would it allow apps in the App Store that crash all the time? According to the rules, they wouldn't with bugs. What else crashes? iMovie. I have problems with iMovie. You know, and these...
Finder sometimes crashes.
Sure. And are we starting to see this a la carte approach to getting rid of the boxed software, too? Was that also the death nail to boxed software this week?
You asked Steve Jobs if the iPhone would eventually allow apps to be sideloaded from other sources. Like
actually, Nilay Patel, our managing editor, asked when we were at the event. Actually, when he was doing that walkthrough, he ended up with a circle around him, which he likes to do once in a while, and everybody can kind of ping him with questions. So Nilay asked him if he would allow apps to be sideloaded onto the iPhone the way they're obviously going to allow on desktops once they have the App Store in place. And his answer was interesting. He said not at this time, but he didn't say no. So it's possible that this could be a good thing. Maybe he'll just say, look, we're doing it on the desktop. Let's do it on these handheld devices. And that'll alleviate a lot of this stuff. I think a lot of the questions about what you can and can't do on your phones would be a non-issue if they just said, look, in our App Store, we don't do this. If you want to use our App Store, you can't do X, Y, and Z. If you want to make a mechanism that does something outside of this, you can go sell it somewhere else and try to get people to load it onto their phone. That's fine. It's not our problem. But they haven't done that yet.
I guess it's foolish for me to be so worried because, you know, time will tell. But it seems like this is the kind of thing Apple has done or would do, which is just kind of slowly close it down. Cali, does that make you nervous at all? Or am I just being paranoid?
Well, we know that Apple likes it closed. I mean, that's why they've succeeded. If we're going to be completely honest, they have succeeded with their closed system, you know. In a sense, it does appear that it's going a little further than we would comfortably like. I think they're actually going to make some changes between now and the 90 days when the App Store is released. This almost feels like they just took and threw, you know, the guidelines without much processing.
I hope you're right. I hope this is not something, but I wonder if they've really thought this all out and they've got this strategic plan.
Well, they do tend to go back on some of their ideas. I mean, we've seen them do that recently with the App Store.
Right.
You know, where they were saying
because people have rattled their cage, and so I'm rattling the cage. I'm saying, be careful.
But I think
it's not a bad thing to rattle the cage.
Right.
It's a good thing, probably.
Josh, you touched on it. You touched on developers, Josh, a few minutes ago, and I've spoken to a few of them, and they're really excited about it. I mean, think about the difficulty if you're a small developer getting your program out there. I mean, you just do not have the Adobes.
But think if you're Adobe. Think if you're Adobe, because what is Adobe thinking? Oh crap!
Yeah, but Adobe,
they've got the distribution channel. They've got the distribution network. They
don't need it.
But these small companies, I mean, these small companies that have to, you know, front load stuff, they just don't have the capability. Now you have one place that you can go and put your software, and you lose your 30%, but you're already losing a lot of money in you know, credit card fees and other things you have to run through to run it on your own.
Packaging.
Yeah, 30% is not bad.
30% on Adobe. I mean, I don't know if you're a Photoshop user or not, or any Adobe product besides Flash, but you know, they have these bizarre custom installers that will
so does Microsoft. Yep.
No, I know, and I find that stuff to be deeply annoying. I would rather have a centralized place where everything is I can check for an update, I can find out if there's something new, and I can decide yes to update or not.
I'm not saying this isn't appealing. I understand that it's very appealing. That's what scares me.
And there's certain apps that we use,
they're actually going to move towards not allowing us to have our own installations. I think that would be crazy of them. I don't think that they're going that route.
All right. Okay.
I agree. They're going to continue to let people deal with their software the way they want, but they're going to give them this new option. And I would say the majority of users who are Mac users are going to eat this option up. And why not? It's actually a really good idea. Why not have a centralized place to get software on your Mac? I mean, it's
well, in fact, they may not have to enforce it. They may just, it may be so popular that it just becomes where all the apps are, and you just use it, and that's it. They may not have to say.
I can't even see Final Cut. I'm sorry, I work within Final Cut every day. I can't see that being available as a one-click install on the App Store, honestly.
I bet it is.
It will. It will be.
I bet every Apple product will be.
It's a big package, though. How big is that? And it's multi-gig.
It's huge. I don't know how big
several
it is.
Several DVDs.
It's huge.
Yeah, no, it's big.
Yeah, we're going to have to get some more bandwidth into people's homes before they're installing
44.4 gigs, somebody in the chat was saying. Now,
is that true?
Yeah, I can't be. That sounds awfully big.
I don't know about that.
Well, after being installed, I think that probably is true.
Might be.
Yeah. I think a lot of people compared this to Steam, which is a great system. Maybe this will just be like Steam.
Should put Steam out of business, actually. That's what it's going to do.
Yeah. Let's take a break. We got a great panel here. It's so much fun. Clayton Morris from Fox and Friends and Games and Gadgets is here. Also, Joshua Topolsky from Engadget and Cali Lewis from GeekBeat.tv. And you're expanding. You've got a couple of new shows. We'll talk about that in just a little bit, Cali. But first, I want to mention our friends at Audible.com. Audible is a great bookstore for people who love audio entertainment. 75,000 titles. And I'm going to tell you how you can get 2 of them absolutely free. They play on all the devices, you know, the iPhone, the iPad, the Zune, the Kindle, Android devices. In fact, they have a great app for both iPhone and Android, and BlackBerry too, although they They don't mention it sometimes as much as we ought to, probably. Will allow you to browse your library. One of the nice things about Audible is every book you've ever bought on Audible is available on your library. And, you know, unlike maybe TV and movies, people often reread books. And so it's really nice. I've been an Audible member for 10 years. I've got over 400 books, and I can always go back and download a book and listen to it. And this is a really nice way to do it with these new apps for Android, iPhone, iPod with Touch, and BlackBerry. If you go to Audible, I was really excited about Keith Richards' new biography. I can't wait to read that. Did you read that in the Times today? I can't wait to read that.
Yeah, but you know he might be out of Pirates, the Pirates, the next Pirates movie because of the stuff he says in it.
He says he's the original Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Johnny Depp.
Apparently, Disney's getting cold feet about it.
No, really? Oh, yeah. That's too bad. It's called Life. It is not yet on Audible because it's not yet out for either in the bookstore on it. But I'd be willing to bet there'll be an audio version from Audible.
It's read by him.
It's not. I looked. It's not.
No, because it would be 872 hours long.
And then I had all my blood taken out of my body.
That didn't happen, right? That was that's an urban legend.
I don't know. We'll have to read the book.
Look at Snopes. I think it'll probably be on Snopes.
Does it say? No, I think that's a Swiss treatment for heroin addiction. They take your blood out, and they put new blood in. I believe.
I think that's a lie.
We'll just have to wait and see, won't we?
We're just not going to get addicted to heroin and go to Switzerland.
Yeah, you could try
it.
To find out. That could be your hands-on.
Now, they do have pre-orders. I don't know. Are you guys Tom Clancy fans? Because the new Tom Clancy, Dead or Alive, is available on Audible for pre-order. This is Lou Diamond Phillips narrates this one. That's going to be fun. If you like thrillers, if you like fiction, if you like nonfiction, if you like history, it's just all here. 75,000 titles. They have a great sci-fi and fantasy section. I'm a big sci-fi fan, and I try to actually limit myself. I get like a sci-fi book, then a nonfiction book, because I want to fill my brain with facts as well as fiction. It is a great resource for you. Now, here's how you get 2 books absolutely free. Go to audible.com/twit2. Audible.com/twit2. You'll be signing up for the Platinum account. That's 2 book credits per month. The first 2 are free. You can cancel at any time. You will get to keep those books forever. Offer is good in the U.S. and Canada. There is no expiration date. This is going to go on forever. This is interesting. American Plastic, boob jobs, credit cards, and our quest for perfection. So you never know what you're going to... The fun thing...
Read that. Got that from my mom for Christmas.
Yeah, it's a great book for Mom.
Really?
The riveting story of how cosmetic surgery and plastic money melted together to create a subprime mortgage crisis of the body.
What?
Wow.
Oh, okay. I thought they were going to blame the mortgage crisis on plastic surgery. It would have been amazing.
This is bizarre. Apparently, the author is a sociologist for the American Plastic Company.
That just sounds way too fascinating not to read.
I agree.
Let's listen to it right now.
You see, well, you want to listen to a little bit of it? Here, let's just try just a little snippet of American Plastic. Boob jobs, credit cards, and
sitting in a colleague's office, discussing my work, we moved from MTV's I Want a Famous Face, a reality TV show where young people undergo a series of surgical procedures to look like Brad Pitt or J-Lo.
What? Is that real?
Is that a real show?
I didn't know about it.
I'm horrified.
I don't know any.
No, this author is...
If it is, why aren't I watching it?
That is disturbing. If that exists, it is truly disturbing.
The chat room, is that... Yes, no, the chat room saying it's a real show.
They are saying it's real.
So we are only about 2 or 3 years away from The Running Man as a TV show, correct?
Oh, my God.
I hope so. I hope so.
Whether we actually are just criminals hunted down.
I want to see Buzzsaw for real. And I want to see him
the guy with the chainsaw that can get
up
their
the groin.
I mean, we really are just closing in on The Running Man as an actual reality show.
I hope so.
Look at a tassel in front of your face, Clayton. I'm just going to move that out of the way. There we go. Yeah,
Clayton's like, man, I can't wait. It'll be on Fox.
How about this? Who doesn't love P.G. Wodehouse and Jeeves? Here's a new recording of my man Jeeves. This will be sound very British here. I
don't know if I ever told you about it, but the reason why I left England was because I was sent over.
All right, I'm not buying that. Forget that. There's some guy with a Brooklyn accent reading my man Jeeves.
Yeah, reading a British book.
It's wrong.
It's really wrong. There's books for kids. Emily and the Incredible Shrinking Rat is a brand new. I'm just looking through the new stuff. It's just really fun. I'll tell you what. Go to audible.com right now. Look at the new releases. Look at the coming stuff, coming attractions. New. Oh, yes, October 26th. Keith Richards' life.
Who reads it?
I saw in the Times article a guy named Jamie Foxx.
I have it. Jamie Foxx reads it?
That can't be the Jamie Foxx.
Let me see.
Ray himself reads it.
His luck would have it.
Look in the New York Times, because that can't be. I must have misread that. There he is.
Yeah, there he is.
Yeah. Oh, and then I lit a cigarette, and Mick said, "You're a wanker."
Where is it? Do you know how far into the article?
He says some nasty things. No, I think I might have found it on Amazon. Anyway.
I'm going to read this anyhow.
The new David Sedaris is on there, too.
I love him.
And he reads all his stuff. Oh.
He does his own stuff. In fact, let's look at that. There's a whole David Sedaris collection on here.
Squirrel Seeks Chipmunk, a Modest Bestiary is the new book. It's a kid's. It's
not
book.
A kid's book.
Wait, it's a kid's book?
No. He personifies animals, and he writes.
Let's listen to a little bit of that here. Oh, this is the beginning.
Nice.
It's got music. Lane Stritch is on this, too. Well, I don't know. I'm sure there'll be some reading at some point. Audible. We don't have. It's only an hour and a half show, folks. Audible.com/twit2 for 2 free books. Sign up today. You're going to love it. It's great. Audible. Your mom should have an Audible subscription, actually. That would be a good Christmas gift.
You remember a few years ago, there was a company that was doing the CDs. I got her a subscription, like a year-long, because she had a long commute, and she runs this nonprofit. It's like 45 minutes away. And so I got her for Christmas these CDs by mail. She would, when she was done with the book on tape, she mailed them back.
Pain in the butt.
I should get her this. Yeah.
You should. Audible's so much better because, you first of all, you'd only get them for a month. You have to mail them back. It comes in a box. You got to keep the CD. I used to do that when I commuted to Tech TV, and then Audible came along in 2001, changed my life.
Yeah.
Give her get this great Christmas gift. Give her an iPod and a subscription to Audible. She
has an iPhone 4.
As a gift. I've done that before.
It's a great gift. Yeah. I mean, it's a gift that for all year long you get.
Keeps on giving.
Keeps on giving. That's a boy. You're a wordsmith. Mr.
I really am. True.
You ought to be a writer or something. Yeah.
I'm a professional wordsmith.
Professional wordsmith. All right, let's move on. We've talked enough about Apple. I'm bored to tears. Let's talk instead about let me think. Google. Seems that Google has been using the Dutch sandwich and the Irish double switch.
The Dutch oven? What?
No, I know this is hard to believe.
Yeah.
Let me get my terminology straight.
I think you have it backwards there.
It's the double Irish and the Dutch sandwich. What do you think? Clayton Morris, what do you think those are? Google's doing it.
The Dutch sandwich. I think I had one time. It's like ice cream in the center, and you put.
There's
a
waffle. Isn't there a waffle involved?
You can get like a waffle, or you can get a little crunch to it. You get rolled in chocolate, and it's delicious.
Anybody know?
Much better than
the Dutch sandwich is a sex. It's a sex.
No,
act.
yeah. Don't go to Urban Dictionary.
It involves 4 people.
No. It's something Adam Curry used to do when he was a young
And it also involves
VJ.
wooden shoes, and I'm not sure how that all works out.
It's a very sexy sex move. And,
Leo's leaving.
Leo's going to demonstrate. I don't.
Yeah, he has a pair of those wooden shoes, and there they are.
Oh no!
Wow!
I can't believe you. Where did you get those?
These are Dutch wooden shoes. They're yeah. So here, let me demonstrate. So you get the wooden. No. I won't do that to you.
Not going to do the Dutch sandwich for
you need sateen sheets. For it
but when you actually get to the explanation of this, it's going to be so much more boring.
Actually, it's kind of interesting. So it turns out if you are a multinational corporation, what you do, Clayton, you should be paying attention to this. You too, Cali. What you do is you set up.
Why shouldn't I be paying attention?
Because you're an ink-stained wretch. You'll never make any money. Okay. So you're a journalist. Don't you know what that means? So
well, I'm a young man.
That's true. That's true. You could sell out at any time.
I'm hoping to.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to sell to AOL at some point soon.
Actually, I believe you did.
I believe you already did.
Yeah.
I didn't get anything.
Yeah, I was going to say. I don't think you participated in that.
Not really. No.
I don't see Ryan Block and Peter Rojas anywhere. Where'd they go?
GDGT.
I know. I'm kidding.
Now, this is the brilliance of Leo Laporte, everyone. If you're listening to TWiT for the very first time, this is what Leo will do now. He'll make tax bills from Google.
You got it.
Interesting.
You got it.
And I was waiting. I just wanted to hear how you were going to do this.
So here's the deal.
Professional broadcaster.
All right. Yeah. Well, and Clayton, and you're about to be wealthy. So here's the deal. You set up a dummy corporation in Ireland. Okay. Why Ireland? Because Ireland was the pits of Europe for a long time. It's just an economic devastate. I mean, just a scorched, a terrible situation.
So now you offended the Irish. So
I'm going to believe me. I ain't done. I'm going to offend everybody before this.
We have another 15 minutes.
I got plenty of time.
He can offend a lot more people.
Yeah, I think you got.
Wait till I start talking in the Irish accent. So Ireland, in order to, and by the way, it's the Irish miracle they call it.
Right.
Or maybe that's St. Bernadette. Anyway, the Irish miracle was they took this economically depressed nation, and by eliminating corporate taxes, all these American companies moved into Ireland, and actually Ireland had a huge, over the last decade, just incredible success by eliminating corporate taxes. So what you do is you set up a dummy corporation in Ireland. You transfer your intellectual property. This is what Google did, by the way, to this dummy corporation in Ireland. Now, the IRS is very, you have to transfer it for fair value, and this is where you can get in a little bit of trouble. You can't just say, here, give me $1 and I'll give you, the PageRank algorithm. So there was some decent amount of money exchanged, and Google had to pay taxes on that decent amount of money. But now, all the intellectual property is in Ireland. Google licenses it. The profits go to Ireland. Then that's when the Dutch sandwich comes in.
It's delicious.
They send it to Holland, where Holland allows you, I don't know, it gets complicated here, but Holland allows you to set up a corporation in, let's say, Bermuda, which is what Google did. So the money goes from Ireland to Holland to Bermuda.
Yeah, where there's no income tax at all.
No tax at all.
I think what you're describing is business as usual for
multinationals.
company.
And this is what's really sad. $60 billion every year, it's estimated, is lost. Not just Google, but Google only saved a few billion. In taxes doing this technique. But $60 billion a year is lost to American taxpayers by this Dutch sandwich and double Irish technique.
Has it done anything to the Ireland's economy? I mean, last year I was in Dublin, and they have a really they were very proud of their thriving tech sector in downtown Dublin. But have they been able to reap any of the benefits of this?
There is a problem because Ireland doesn't get any taxes from these big companies, but their employment, they get the employment, right?
Yeah. And countless, but it's not just the financial damage; it's the countless hospital visits due to.
You're back. You're back with the wooden shoes.
Because it's so much more interested in the actual Dutch sandwich.
All right.
Not that I'm knocking.
Is anybody incensed? But you're just saying it's business as usual for multinationals.
Come on. I mean, seriously? I mean, does it surprise you that they're using all kinds of crazy loopholes?
It's the same old tune for large companies.
Taxes and make a bunch of extra money.
The corporate tax rate, nominal corporate tax rate in the U.S. is 35%. I know because I pay 35% corporate taxes. But Google, I'm not apparently rich enough to do the double Irish Dutch sandwich.
Maybe you
could try, though. You could try.
I'm not flexible.
The problem, you're talking about this, but any sort of international legal scholar, not that I know any, would tell you that this is all legal.
Oh, it's completely legal.
Part. And they set up these laws this way on purpose.
The problem isn't that people are doing it. The problem is that it's okay to do it. I mean, and that it's not just okay, but this kind of stuff is the norm for corporations.
Google is paying 2.4% in U.S. taxes. 2.4%. How much did you pay last year?
Blowing.
In corporate in U.S. personal taxes. I mean,
oh God. Well, look, come on. We have a very flawed tax system in this country, do we not?
Right. I don't
know how political we want to get, but I mean, we do have Clayton here, so.
Well, I think that you can't blame Google. Well, maybe you can. Google's not the only tech company doing it. Certainly not the only multinational doing it. Obviously, the laws have to be reformed.
I blame Obama. Definitely his fault.
It's his fault.
He started this. He's got to finish it.
Hey, as Joe Canadian points out in the chat room, people are doing the Dutch sandwich. There's the KFC Double Down chicken sandwich, which is also.
Let me tell you something. I've had the Double Down.
You have?
I had it with grilled,
You really have? I heard it's delicious, but I cannot, in good conscience, bring myself to eat that.
You missed something.
Not a single piece of actual meat in there. But
Joshua did the healthy version, the grilled, not fried Double Down.
I was on a low carb. I was going on a low carb diet for about a month, and I had the double. The Double Down was totally allowable if you're doing low carb. No problem. So,
which tells you what's wrong with a low carb diet.
Pretty delicious. Yeah. No, it tells you what's right with the low carb diet. So you can have
I don't even know what's in a Double Down. I keep hearing this, but I have no idea what it is.
Simple. It's very simple. It is 2 chicken patties, either fried or grilled, as the bread, And then inside of the chicken patties is cheese and bacon. That's
and
the
some
meat.
sort of sauce. There's a, like
And a
a,
sauce.
there's like a
delicious cream sauce.
of unknown origin.
But how do you eat it?
Just
The
bacon.
problem is
That's
there's
not
no
doing.
bun, so it's just a greasy thing all over your hand.
Right. There's
No, but the bun is the chicken. Yes, the bun's the chicken, and the meat is the cheese.
Do they give you some sort of special glove
Yeah,
or
you have like
anything?
a whole. You have like they give you like a kind of thing you can unwrap, sort of like eating a burrito.
You need a double down glove to eat
Yeah,
it.
they give you a surgical glove to eat the double down.
I think that's a great invention.
It's not the
invented
powdery kind.
the double down glove. I had worked with a producer who wanted to invent the Cheeto mitt, because she would sit and watch football games and her hands would get all orange from the Cheetos. So she invented these Cheeto mitts.
It's like Jerry Seinfeld's blood joke. You know, if you've got blood on your clothes, then you don't need to worry about laundry. You've got other problems. If you have to worry about Cheeto mitt life.
I think a little pincer sort of device for Cheetos would be good, like something you could go into the bag with.
Tongs.
Tongs. Cheeto tongs, but they're the right size, like chopsticks, but put together. Isn't there? Can we patent that?
I'm just ready. I just want to.
Part of the fun of Cheetos is licking the fingers. I mean, why do you want to mess with that?
Scraping off the Cheetos with a knife.
So Google TV, it seemed like a good idea at the time. I ordered one. Have you got your Logitech Revue yet, Joshua Topolsky?
Yeah, did you see, we did the Engadget show last night, and we had a review on stage, and we demoed it, played around with it. Look, there's some really cool stuff. There's some really dumb stuff. At the end of the day, most people, the vast majority of humans on the planet do not want to spend $300 on some weird box that they have to hook up to their cable box to use Google searches on their television. It's just not realistic. I think that the stuff built into a TV is far more likely to get traction than the stuff where it's like a separate box you have to go and get. So Google TV can be a success or have some impact as long as companies like Sony and Panasonic and any other Vizio, they want to start building that stuff into the TV. I think they have a really hard fight if they're asking people to spend $300 on a separate box to use.
People keep asking why this is different than web TV, and I think it's different. I think it's significantly different because the web is different now, and it's not web TV because the web is so much more robust. But I agree with Josh completely. In playing with it in the Logitech box, it just doesn't make much sense for the average consumer. And I have to say, it'd be better baked into a television. And if the price wasn't exorbitant,
you can get it in a television. Sony's
right, Sony. And I played with the Sony television with it baked in, and it makes more sense. Look, if you're going to get a new television, and you're in the market for a new television, you've got Yahoo widgets, you've got these other TVs with internet capability, and you're not paying much more to have internet-ready televisions, get it. I don't know that it's a game changer at all.
Cali, what do you think?
No, I think it is a game changer, not necessarily in the sense that everybody will be buying one of these things, but it is impacting the future. I mean, we all know that everything is going to become integrated more and more and more. People are watching podcasts on their TV. They're having to work a little bit to do that, but more and more people will be able to just
why they're watching podcasts? Because NBC, ABC, and CBS are blocking actual TV shows.
I want to say I agree with Cali. I think it is a game changer, but I don't think it's like I don't think Google's device is the game changer. I think the game changer is big companies with lots of money are starting to look at the living room, and they're saying, what can we do to actually innovate here, and how can we make this experience better for users? Unfortunately, the roadblock everybody hits, and they're going to keep hitting, is how do you make it better for users? Excuse me. How do you make it better for users when you've got these cable companies that are still basically throwing up blockades, and also the content providers throwing up blockades to getting that content in an easy, decent way? And that's what's happening now. It's like
Hulu's blocking. ABC and NBC are allowing you to watch promotional clips, but not full TV shows.
No, Hulu came right out. Google was didn't Logitech right on their website immediately say they put up a video that here we can't get to Hulu now. It wasn't Logitech.
All you have to do is change the browser's user agent to
but an average user. But an average user is gonna.
Are you laughing at me?
I am, because I just because I love this stuff.
We call it the Dutch sandwich.
But I just picture my mom. She doesn't even know how to turn on a television, and yet she's going to change the user agent. And so I don't know the game-changing thing.
User agent.
Yeah, the game-changing thing bothers me a little bit. I mean, I really think of a game-changing.
This is the opposite of what we were just talking about with Apple full screen, App Store. This is like as complicated as you could make a TV.
Well, the box itself is the interface itself isn't that complicated.
Except it takes 45 minutes to set it up.
No, that's the problem. But if you just plugged in your TV in your cable box and suddenly it existed there, that's a different story.
Right.
The problem here is, and this is the same thing that Apple experienced. I thought something that was really striking when we reviewed the Apple TV. They took, even in their presentation, Jobs showed Iron Man 2 and Modern Family and all the stuff you'd want to watch on your Apple TV, right? When we got a review unit, no Iron Man 2 and no Modern Family, the content makers said, guess what? We're not giving you this stuff on your device. You can have it if you go to the video store. You can have it if you buy it, but you can't have it on your device to rent. And you're not going to be able to watch it streaming online. And that's what they're doing here. Hulu's saying, they're saying you can't get to Hulu, ABC's. You can't watch Modern Family.
Isn't this just temporary? Isn't this though a case of these companies? It's like the record companies. No, they're going to fight every step of the way, but ultimately it's going to happen that we get.
Well, the record companies didn't have the kind of control that these guys have. It's a completely different situation. Oh. I mean, Comcast and Time Warner, in collusion with the content makers, have control not only of where the content's coming from and what you're looking at it on, but the pipes that it comes down on. So, I mean, it's a crazy situation that we have here where, why when I buy cable, why do I have to buy 600 channels when I only watch 14 of them? Right. I mean, it's this, and people have been railroaded like that for years, and there's no end in sight right now that I can tell.
So you don't think a la carte television is in the future?
Never.
It should be.
Really?
It should be in the future, but it's not going to be in the future until we find a way to circumvent the situation.
When people want something, and they clearly want a la carte TV, if not by channel, if not show by show, but channel by channel. If people want something, haven't they always, in the long run, hasn't technology always inevitably given them a chance to get it?
Look at carriers and cell phones. I mean, you've got a situation where the dream scenario would be you buy a phone, right, that you can actually afford. And then you say, I want this kind of service. Maybe I'll just pay monthly for this service and decide when to end that contract instead of having some elaborate 2-year contract. But the reality is you have to pick a certain device on a certain carrier and get locked into a 2-year contract. And that doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon. And I think the same is true for TV. It's a real problem. We have huge, huge corporations that have huge amounts of control over what are going to be or what already are vital services, and there's no way to disconnect those two things. You can't say, just give me what I want, how I want it, because your lines are controlled and your content is controlled by a single company.
If the cable companies can actually get good box,
or sooner than a la carte, we're going to wind up seeing just just more content, more user-generated content, let's say, side by side with the TV that we already get.
That's what you and I do, Cali, and that's good. That's good for us because that's what you and I do.
Yeah, but when's the shift going to happen where that stuff becomes the mainstream? I mean, we're so far from that. I mean, we're also so far from, there's a lot of bad content and a lot of very little quality content. Obviously, you guys are producing some of the best in the industry. Shameless. I'm told shameless flattery is very effective.
I love those first looks, by the way. Have I told you how much I love those?
Oh, you like that?
I think it's such a good idea.
Love fest.
Yeah, I love that.
But there's two different audiences. I had a meeting with Blip TV a few weeks ago, and talking about a show
great.
that
I love Blip TV. They're great.
Yeah, they're fantastic. And it's interesting. They shed some light on how their audiences are watching television and consuming content on set-top boxes versus the web. And me and my buddy Jim do a paranormal show, because I love UFOs and ghosts and stuff like that. So we do this paranormal report show once a week. And we're figuring out the different audiences. He's saying, look, the people that are watching it on the Roku box, which I love, never watch it on the web. And the people that watch it on the web never watch it on these set-top boxes, but they get enormous traffic through the Blip.tv app on the Roku box. And people are sampling this. And someone in the chat room said, I'm not sure people actually want a la carte television. I think maybe we assume that they do, but isn't there a certain amount of sampling going on that people like the clicker? And it's sort of the age-old clicker thing, right? You just give me that clicker.
Why not? Why can't you have both? I mean, a la carte doesn't just have to be I want all of the, I only want these specific options. I mean, I think there's a way to do both that will please the consumer. And also, if you want to flip around, like for me, I could tell you very effectively and clearly what channels I want and don't want, right? And if I could get a package from the cable company that just had those channels, I'd be fine with that. I wouldn't feel like, oh man, I wish I had, I don't know what kind of random, like Animal Planet or something, because I'm never going to, well, maybe I'd watch Animal Planet.
You're never going to watch Animal Planet?
No, I might watch Animal Planet, to be perfectly honest.
Why do you hate animals?
I'm very disappointed.
I don't hate animals. I'm an animal lover.
No, he likes them. We know how he likes them. He likes them with a chicken as the bun.
Right.
He likes them deliciously. But hey, we just got cable. We just got this house. This is a perfect example of how
beautiful.
Are
you living in Switzerland now? It's a beautiful.
This is a chalet. No, we're up actually in the Poconos. This is.
Are you really? Oh, I'm so jealous.
Give me your exact address.
Literally moved in yesterday, and so this is a little janky.
My daughter's up near you. If you ever want to stop by Bard College across the river there from you.
What's her exact address?
I'll tell you.
Get her exact location, Leo.
But we had cable come out here, and this is the thing. We went through 2 boxes already in a day. We had a guy come back out again because these Scientific Atlanta boxes and these Samsung boxes are terrible. If the cable companies could step it up in the hardware, and Josh, I'd love to get your perspective on this. If they would step up and say, you know what, not only do you have the great DVR content now that actually works, but you've got all of this a la carte programming that you can pick and choose from. You've got all of this on-demand stuff that's not limited. Then they could really I wouldn't need to get a Google TV. If I could jump on YouTube right on one of these cable boxes.
You mean like a TiVo box? I think is what you're describing.
Exactly.
Well,
yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. But here's the thing. What is the incentive for Time Warner or Comcast to give you better options? First off, they don't want you off of their main feed, right? They want you to be on the Comcast main feed as much as possible. They don't want you on the internet looking at YouTube because that takes money out of their pocket at the end of the day because they need.
You're still using their internet service. You're still paying for cable.
Yeah, you're paying for that one part, but then you're not watching the advertisers on the networks that they have deals with. They have sweetheart deals with that are, pushing the content onto their lines. So what is the incentive to Comcast? Is it user outrage? Because that obviously hasn't happened yet. I don't think
I think the incentive is when people do start to, en masse, cancel their subscriptions.
They want to stay in business. Yeah.
It's going to happen more and more, hopefully. And that will be their incentive. It's just, but it won't happen for a while.
I think we're light years away from that. That's like saying, oh, well, the carriers I'm not disagreeing with you. That's what's going to make it happen is there has to be some outrage from people who actually use their services. They have to say, screw this, I'm canceling it. But that doesn't happen in phones. We've seen the same thing for years and years and years. And people have had the same complaint. Like, well, there's going to be outrage and people say, I'm canceling my service and I'm not going to pay these crazy contract fees and 25 cents for a text message, which in my opinion is a criminal offense and should be punishable by law.
Right, but we still do it. You're absolutely right.
But we still do it, and there's no outrage, and people are just basically...
Well, there may even be outrage, but we still do it.
I was just talking to Aaron Woodman from Microsoft about this. He's one of the guys that's deeply involved with Windows Phone 7, and we were talking about how you change consumer behavior, because at the end of the day, all of the stuff is about the behaviors of the consumer and whether or not they will take what they're given, right? And we have a tendency to just take what these companies dole out, right? We're used to it. It's somewhat comfortable. It may not be the best situation in the world, but it is what it is.
Because we are sheep. Is that what you're saying?
Basically.
Yeah.
But I
want to read you what Mark Cuban said. I think very interesting. I'm not a big fan of Mark Cuban. I think sometimes he really gets it big time wrong. But I'm going to read what he said. His article, his column, it kind of takes off from your Engadget revelation that Netflix is testing a streaming-only service. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. Clayton Morris is here. Joshua Topolsky from Engadget. Callie Lewis of GeekBeat.tv. Real briefly before we get to Mark's thoughts on Netflix and why Google is about to hand Netflix the keys to the kingdom, I want to tell you about the Edge. I was at Blog World last week. Callie, you were down there too. And Ford was doing test drives. I took this opportunity to drive the new Edge. I think this is such a sweet car. I'd heard that it was the most technologically sophisticated car from Ford, and I have to say, once you get inside, you really feel that way. First of all, looking at it, the beautiful smooth lines, you really can see how computer design has changed how cars are designed. I mean, just very fluid aerodynamic shape. Inside, I think... I'm very aware of the aesthetics of instrument panels. You know, my 2011 Mustang, or 2010 Mustang, one of the reasons I like it is it's very simple, clean instrument panel. You see the same thing in the Ford Edge. The center stack, the door trim, the shifter, gorgeous. I took a picture of the shifter and posted it on Instagram. I mean, just really beautiful. Exceptional fit and finish. Ford has really got that down now. These cars are solid. They feel good. The best in class, second row leg room. Lots of space back there. The available panoramic Vista roof. This is one thing I'm sorry I did not get on the Mustang. With a forward panel that tilts or opens fully and a fixed rear skylight so the back seat gets light as well as the front seat. Ambient lighting. I have this on the Mustang. This is so cool. You could change the colors for your moods. You get purple, amber, white, whatever you like. That's a standard in the Limited and Sport and available on the SEL. But the engine is where you really see technology. It's got that advanced 3.5-liter TI VCT V6, 285 horsepower, 27 highway miles per gallon, according to the EPA. If you get the Sport, you get even more horsepower, 305 horsepower, 280 foot-pounds of torque, sport-tuned suspension, 22-inch polished aluminum wheels, performance tires. I mean, it is sweet. And, of course, like most of the Ford vehicles, you get the Ford Sync. In fact, the Edge has the My Ford Touch, which is the Sync Plus. They've got two screens on behind the wheel in front of you. One is the tachometer, although it can be programmed, and then the other one is kind of the media and stuff. And then, of course, you've got the big center screen, the 8-inch touch screen in the center stack. All the Sync voice. Have you seen it?
Oh yeah, I played with it. I absolutely love the My Ford Touch, and I've done a couple of test drives with it in some different vehicles of theirs, and I love how it integrates with everything. You know, you've got Pandora,
Slacker,
Pandora streaming Slacker radio in that.
Yeah,
I have one question about this car.
Yes, Joshua.
How much is it going to be?
I have no idea. They don't give me that.
They even have like little customization. You can put a picture of your dog, for example.
Oh,
on
yeah.
the dash.
I have the TWiT logo. When I get in the car, it's like the Batmobile. I turn it on, and the TWiT logo comes out.
The penguin is sitting there going, I got control of your car.
My Ford Touch is slick. The voice command, the 911 safety features. I'm really thrilled with 2 USB inputs. That's kind of new. SD card slot in your car. RCA AV input checks. You have an SD slot in your car?
Yeah, the Golf TDI.
You're such
weirdly,
a nerd.
I was surprised it had an SD card slot. I was like, why does this exist?
You're such a nerd. You know, I actually update the firmware in my Mustang with a USB key.
Really?
That's cool.
You should try to update it with this.
See what happens. Put Tiger.
You'll only be able to do one thing in the car at a time.
I'm going to put Liger on. Right. Yeah, it's full screen all of a sudden. I don't understand.
You can only steer in one direction at a time.
Fortunately, Apple is not designing my Ford Touch. I want you to take a look at the great 2011 Ford Edge, just out. It is at your Ford dealer. Take a test drive this week. I think you will be very, very pleased. And if you're in the market for a new car, don't you dare buy a new car without going to a Ford, Lincoln, or Mercury dealer and listen to the Ford Sync. It's enough. I'm telling you, it's so good, it's enough to sell a car. You know, there's lots of other great features, but the Sync is there's nothing. Joshua, you probably tested. I don't know why you bought a Volkswagen, but
long story. That's an American car. You should definitely go to the dealer and look at it because we've got to support American companies.
The Volkswagen?
No, not me. Not me.
Really?
I don't like to support American companies,
in fact, it sounds a little jingoistic, but in fact, I'm very proud to be driving an American car, and I think that it's kind of a rebirth of the American industrial might, and I'm just thrilled to see Ford doing so well.
Ford's the only company that didn't accept any stimulus
funds. Yep. I mean,
I'd like to see a few more electric.
They're so into social media, which is awesome.
Scott
I like to
Monty
support
over
that.
there. Yeah, isn't he great? And are you ready? Great. Are you ready for electric? Because Joshua, get ready. Wait till you see what Ford's doing in electric. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it. But
can you please? I'm going to pull it out of you because we're in the market for a car. Is there an SUV that's electric? I'll buy it. Can you spill it? I had a Ford Escape hybrid, and I loved it.
You're not a hardcore. You don't have to worry about these embargoes.
I don't actually. I don't do NDAs or embargoes.
So just do it. Yeah. Go, say it.
You play by your own rules.
I play by my own rules. You want the Dutch sandwich? I got one.
Yeah, you play by your own Dutch.
I got one right here. Just let me put it this way. See me at South by Southwest. We will be. I think we're going to be driving one of them. Oh, it's not just a car. It's a line.
What are they? What are they called?
Shut up. You'll see.
Come on. I'm being a journalist, right? I'm digging for the facts.
Well, what is it Steve Jobs says? I didn't say that.
And then I'm going to do a first hands-on with the cars as soon as I.
Hands aren't a hard body. So,
Yeah.
so the networks are blocking, And in fact, Mark Cuban in a blog post says, I personally can't think of anything stupider for the big broadcast networks to do than to give their shows to Google for free. He says, why? Because they're finally getting billions of dollars in retransmission fees from their distributors. That's, I guess, the cable companies. This is new money. It's found money. It's money they're fighting for. Just ask Fox and Cablevision what they think of each other this week. Well, you know, Clayton, what a mess that was in New York.
Everyone thinks, I gave a speech the other night, and everyone at the end, we had a Q&A at the end, everyone said, when am I going to get Fox 5 back on my cable? I don't know.
Is that still off? I mean, is it still not on the Cablevision?
Yeah, I mean, up until the other day, I don't know what the update was, but they're still dealing with it. What a mess! So
the craziest part of that is the blocking it from the subscribers, blocking the streaming from the subscribers.
Yeah, but Hulu did that.
Right. That to me is criminal. I mean, that's insane.
I mean, talk about net neutrality. You're saying, oh, let me see what your IP address is. Oh, no. You're using Cablevision Internet. No Hulu for you.
Yeah, I paid for the Internet. I pay for Hulu Plus or whatever.
But you don't get it because
you don't like my IP, so I'm actually not going to get
exactly
the
right. Now, for anybody who said, "Oh, there's no problem with net neutrality," there's your proof, right there. By the way, that was a brief blockage. They unblocked.
That's the problem without net neutrality. That's
what I'm saying. Yeah, without some sort of protection. Net neutrality is a terrible name. It should be internet discrimination. We don't want internet discrimination.
That's actually good. You should try to champion that. You want to go? You and I can try to champion that together.
You want me to call Frank Luntz and have you work on some new words?
We need new words. For 4 years I've been saying it's not a podcast, it's a netcast.
Yeah.
How well is that?
How's that working out for you?
Yeah. All right. So he says if Google were to go to those networks and offer them money per month for every buyer of a Google-enabled device or TV, that'd be different. But Google doesn't do that. Google refuses to pay people to put it on Google TV. They don't pay up front for content, as Netflix does. And so Mark Cuban says Google has just handed Netflix the streaming universe. Netflix streaming content, this blows my mind. Netflix streaming content consumes 20% of download throughput during weekday primetime hours. 1/5 of all network traffic during primetime hours on weekdays is Netflix.
That's hard. Where are those numbers from?
Mark Cuban.
I think reported on that.
CNET reported on it. It says Netflix grabs 20% of peak time U.S. traffic. This is from Sandvine. Sandvine's pretty reliable.
I mean, it's a high number to believe, but still at the same time, how many of us are using Netflix?
I watched 5 hours of Netflix last night. Actually, I didn't because of the baseball game, but I normally do.
Yeah.
Where do you find 5 hours to watch anything?
I get in bed and I like to watch great movies like Showgirls, which is what I watched last night.
Are you in bed watching Showgirls? Really? You don't say.
That is the worst.
It's so much fun to watch, though.
No, I did the same thing because I love Netflix, and we watched every episode of Dexter.
Dexter is a great choice.
Love Dexter.
Yeah, you got the new Star Trek on there, and they're starting to get obviously some of the newer movies more quickly on there. But I did the same thing. One of the worst movies ever made was Sphere. You remember that? The Michael Clayton book.
Oh, Sharon Stone.
It's the only movie I ever walked out of a theater on.
But if you're in bed half asleep, it's not a bad movie.
Right, I put that on, so I have that on my Netflix.
I need to see this, apparently.
Showgirls is just...
Kyle MacLachlan is great in that film.
It is such a... Well,
Paul Verhoeven. It's a Paul Verhoeven
It's Paul Verhoeven.
Total self-indulgent writer, Paul Verhoeven.
A little story. I'll tell you a little story. I was working for Ziff Davis in the television division. This was in the mid-'90s when this movie was being made. I think it was 95. And we would go down once a week. Ziff Davis said, go down to MGM and pretend we're going to do TV with them. So my job, I was getting paid to go down and fly once a week to L.A., have an office. I had an office in MGM where I would sit there going, I wish I had an iPad. I would sit there going, pretending that we were going to do TV with MGM. I don't think anything ever came of it. But I do remember the most embarrassing moment. The MGM executives came in and said, we're very excited about this new movie. We think it's going to be a huge hit. Paul Verhoeven, Elizabeth Barkley from Saved by the Bell, Kyle MacLachlan from Dune.
And we've got Screech.
And so they had we're in a screening room, right? With it's me and Gina Smith and a bunch of executives, and they screen the scene where Elizabeth Barkley is dry humping some guy. Okay, this is the scene.
My favorite scene.
And my jaw. I mean, I'm there with these executives. I'm like embarrassed. I'm mortified. I'm bright. I said, What are you thinking? This is the first NC-17 movie. This was going to be the big deal where the movie companies finally did adult movies with major stars.
Only it had been even remotely good.
You were so outraged by that you put it in your Netflix Instant
No, I never
queue.
saw the movie. I was outraged. I never saw the movie, and then I'm going through Netflix. I go, oh, there's Showgirls. I remember that. I wonder what that movie is.
Oh, it is terrible.
Last night was the first time you watched it? No.
Yes.
Really?
I didn't finish it, but I mean, I was stunned.
Has anybody ever finished it, actually?
It's the most horrible movie.
Yeah, several times.
Well, it's like
really,
it
Cal,
says
you
on the
finished
Netflix
Showgirls
thing, it's a
several
cult.
times. That's
They say on the Netflix thing now, it was a terrible movie. Everybody hated it, but it's a cult classic now.
You have to watch it.
Is it because it's so bad?
I think his the guys from Mystery Science Theater, Mike Nelson, I think the guys over at Riff Tracks,
right?
I think they've done the Showgirls. You might want to go check it out.
Oh, I'll have to
Hilarious
watch
guy,
that.
Mike Nelson from Mystery Science Theater. He has a new thing called rifftracks.com.
Excellent.
And they have, I think they have Showgirls as one of the choices. You have
I got to see that.
You download the MP3 and you play it along with the movie.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I would watch the Netflix. See, I'm telling you, Netflix has got it right. And you said, Engadget said, Joshua, that Netflix is in fact going to test streaming only.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, look, I subscribe to Netflix, and I either have a disc sitting here that's been here for like 6 months.
I never
or I don't
use
even
a disc.
remember the last time I got a disc sent to me. So
With
it
great
makes a lot of sense.
with great flicks like Showgirls on streaming, who needs the disc?
Is it a Sarbanes-Oxley
great
thing,
American
Leo? I mean, is that
classics like
why they're still
Showgirls.
having to keep the discs coming in the mail?
You
I mean,
think
I can't get.
socks?
Is it? I mean, why else would they? I mean, because that $8.95 a month, and just to get that one disc that, like Josh, I have, I think City of God, the DVD, which is supposed to be a fantastic movie on DVD. I just still can't get myself to put it into a DVD player to play it. It's sitting
I think
under
I
a pile
have
of
the
dust.
first episode of, or the first disc for Twin Peaks season 2, which I have yet to.
You're the one that has it. I've been waiting for it.
There's
I'm
only
sorry,
one.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to monopolize
This
it, but
is
I've been
it.
using
It
their
does make sense though when you have, because you can't get everything on streaming with Netflix.
Right.
So
Well, more
when
and
there's
more you
something
can,
you really
though.
want to see, you need the DVDs.
More
but
and
they
more you
also
can.
increased prices to like what, $1 more?
$1 more for Blu-ray.
That's
So is there a
Oh,
reason
okay,
then to
okay.
have Hulu Plus? I mean, I have Hulu, and I see
That's
I
a
get,
waste
I get
of money.
so pissed off about seeing that $9.99
Well,
on my thing.
you heard the
I'm
rumor.
always
Hulu Plus
watching
a waste of
Glee.
money at all.
You
I
heard
get
the
a lot of
rumor they're
these
going to cut that in half, though, to
But I get a
$4.99.
It
ton of
only
these on
makes
Hulu
sense. It was
Plus.
obvious that was going to happen. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's overpriced.
that was way
I-
too much.
And there's
we
ads
watched-
on it.
Yeah, but at least you can see stuff that you need to see. Like, we watched the whole first season of Modern Family. I'd never seen the show before.
That's very funny,
And-
isn't it?
You know, we
the
watched it
greatest show on
straight through. You
television,
couldn't
yeah.
do it anywhere else. Either you buy it on iTunes for like $50, or you spend $10 a month and you have to sit through a couple of commercials. But it's better than sitting through commercials during an actual TV show.
But
So
here's the problem, Josh.
I
It wasn't
complained
on
about it, but it's
Hulu
like it's not
Plus.
the worst thing in the world.
But it wasn't on Hulu Plus.
No, it was. It was.
No, I went looking for it. It wasn't there.
I
There were
watched it
certain.
on
there
I
were
Hulu
bought
certain-
Plus.
I bought a season on Amazon. If I'd known it was on Hulu Plus, I'd pay for Hulu.
It was
Plus.
on Hulu Plus. I think they expired it when they started the new
Oh,
season.
they expired it. All right, so let's play a game. Let's all go to our Netflix queue and see who has the movie that's been out the longest.
Okay.
On there, actually, I'm going to win this. I'll lose it because I just finally gave up and sent a bunch of movies in. I
I'm
have
checking it out right now.
my oldest movie is September 23rd, Where the Wild Things Are. That's not so bad. That's not even a month yet.
What kind of
Wait,
movies?
is there a place that you look at that?
Yeah, you look at your
I
queue.
love how your choice is all NC-17 movies lately.
Okay.
Stop it!
What's your date? What's your date?
My oldest is 9/23. That's not so bad.
All right, Clay, what do you have?
Shipped on City of God is still sitting at home. Shipped on 10/05.
Oh, that's
2010.
nothing. That's 2 weeks.
I got you guys. I
Oh,
got you
we're
guys.
talking
Really.
about when it was shipped. I
The
thought you meant
oldest. No, your oldest DVD that you still have on the shelf. How long have you had it for?
Callie, what do you have?
9/18 is when the last one.
Oh,
was
you
shipped.
guys are. We're all pretty
I
good.
got 3/23.
Mark,
I'm telling you, I
March.
was waiting. I wanted
What's that?
Twin Peaks. I got the first season because we'd never seen it. I started watching it, and I wanted to get the second, whatever the
7
second
months
season
he's
on
had
delay. It's like,
Twin
What
Peaks.
it is,
You're the one.
it's Season 2, Disc 1 of Twin Peaks. Is
You're
exactly.
the one. I
know
swear
why?
to God, there's only one disc
There's
out
no
there.
Are you serious?
You know why?
I'll send it to you.
There's no. Yeah, just send it to him.
They won't.
There's just eliminate the middleman. There's no
Yeah.
compelling reason to watch season 2. It's like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
No. I'm sure it's going to be great. Okay.
I don't even
haven't
know what
seen
Twin
it
Peaks
since
is.
1993. So
You don't know what
Twin
Twin
Peaks
Peaks is?
Classic.
whoa. whoa,
pretty bad
what?
with that.
Did Cali just say she doesn't know?
You know
Twin
why?
Peaks?
She's 22 years old. She doesn't know any of this.
I am not
She's
older than 22.
All right, 25. She has no idea what happened before 1990.
Are you serious?
I
You
have
don't know
no
what
idea. Actually, I grew up with a really strict family. My stepfather was really, really strict. So I didn't even have a TV in my house for my growing up years.
Yeah.
So
And he would never
I
have
have
let
an
you watch Twin
excuse.
Peaks.
Can I make a recommendation?
Especially with the
Cali?
log lady intros, you would not want to.
I'd like to recommend that you go on your Netflix and you put.
She
Twin
can't.
Peaks
You still
into-
have it, you dick.
Yeah.
No, season one. Season one.
Watch it and send it back.
You gotta get season one on there, but you gotta go do it now because you're missing out on great.
Dead. Wrapped
All
in
right,
plastic.
I am doing it right this second.
I like it's actually happening in this moment. That's
This
great.
must
Laura Palmer.
this must be where pies go when they die. Isn't that Kyle in that too?
Yeah, Kyle MacLachlan's in that.
Oh,
Kyle
he's
MacLachlan's in
Whoa.
a lot of great creepy movies or shows.
My mind is blowing. This is the Kyle MacLachlan version.
But it
also
speaks to the
Dune.
way we're watching this stuff. You can jump into your next Well, that's why I come back to the sort of the a la carte thing. And I think the way that people sample things, right? And you go through your Netflix queue, you're like, I feel like I'm going to watch Cake Boss tonight or Saw 2. Or if you're Leo, Wild Things 2, straight to
Cake
DVD.
Boss?
Not
You know,
Wild
like-
Things. Wait a minute. Now I understand what you're saying. Not Denise Richard Wild Things. Where
you
the
said.
Wild Things Are, the Maurice Sendak children's movie, you pervert.
Sure, Leo. You got the Dutch sandwich. You got Wild
thinking of
Things.
my
We get it.
instinct.
Although,
It's-
come to think of it, Wild Things was a pretty good movie.
Yeah,
No, it
what was
wasn't.
it?
No.
The pool scene?
The pool
Was
scene.
Wild Things written by Joe Esterhaus, who's the guy who did Showgirls? Did he also write Wild Things?
Probably.
I think he
Because-
did. I think you're right.
Did he?
All
That
right.
would be amazing.
Let's fast forward to the year 2010, where Aaron Sorkin writes a movie kind of loosely based on Facebook. Finally, a man named Mark Zuckerberg, who actually lived that, sees the movie. He's asked at the Y Combinator Startup Conference what he thought of the Facebook movie.
One of the biggest ones.
I mean, I don't know. It's interesting what stuff they focused on getting right. Like every single shirt and fleece that I had in that movie is actually a shirt or fleece that I own. So there's all this stuff that they got wrong and a bunch of random details that they got right. The thing that I think is actually most thematically interesting that they got wrong is the whole framing of the movie, kind of the way that it starts is, I'm with this girl who doesn't exist in real life, who dumps me, which has happened in real life a lot. And basically they frame it as if the whole reason for making Facebook and building something was because I wanted to get girls or wanted to get into some kind of social institution. And I mean, the reality for people who know me is I've actually been dating the same girl since before I started Facebook, so obviously that's not a part of it. But I think it's such a big disconnect from, I think, the way that people who make movies think about what we do in Silicon Valley, building stuff. Right? Like, they just can't wrap their head around the idea that someone might build something because they like building things.
I love that. I think that's a really great way to end the show.
That's the most eloquent I've ever seen him be. And I have to say his point is
He's
really,
right on.
really accurate. I think that the perception of, I mean, you can, look, if you've seen Aaron Sorkin talk about these characters, you can tell that he has a tremendous disdain for people who do the kinds of things that Zuckerberg did and the people around him do. And I do think there's a real disconnect there. He's right about what the perception from the inside versus the outside. And, you know, he thinks, like, of course he's motivated by his hatred for women. That's why he started Facebook.
Obviously.
And that's a very childish way to think about why somebody would start something or work on something like Facebook.
Yeah, and I interviewed Ben Mesrick like 2 weeks ago. And, of course, he's the author of Accidental Billionaires, which I know probably everyone here has read or listened to on Audible, which is a fantastic book.
It's a good Audible book, actually.
Great service, tremendous also.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, he said, you know, that Zuckerberg does have that sort of singular focus about things. And of course, back then, early on, he was saying that he talked about the movie as complete fiction, or he said it was fiction. And sure, there were a lot of parts of it that were absolutely, completely fabricated. I mean, like the girlfriend issue at the beginning of the movie. that he is after some sort of personal vendetta, which was certainly not true. Yeah. But I think this is the best thing from a PR standpoint that's happened to Zuckerberg. I think he looks better.
As it turns out, I think he was worried, obviously, and everybody's worried that it was going to really hurt them. I don't think it did. I think it's actually
it raised the profile of Facebook to a place that was even higher than they were already.
And it's a good movie, but it has no more to do with Mark Zuckerberg than Citizen Kane has to do with William Randolph Hearst.
Doesn't it have a lot to do with Hearst, though? Okay. Kind of very close to his actual life story.
You see, that's the problem. People still think he was in love with Rosebud. It's a sled. It's a sled.
Rosebud was involved in the Dutch sandwich, I believe.
Actually, you know, after we're off the air, I'll tell you what Rosebud really is.
I don't know. I don't like this.
It's a little adult.
Make sure I'm hung up. I don't know if I want to be involved in that.
I don't like where this is headed at all.
I received this note that I should say to one of you. Who should I say this to? I should say to Clayton. I should say to Joshua. Bingo.
Oh, that's very cute. Who gave you that note?
I touched a nerve, did I?
Do you know we have somebody made an Engadget podcast bingo. And apparently I didn't really understand how bingo was played, I guess, when we started. I didn't know how it worked.
A sad, troubled loner, aren't you, Joshua?
Kind of, yes, actually. Okay.
Where is the Engadget podcast? Can we find it at Engadget.com?
Engadget.com. We have a podcast tab. You can listen to all of our latest podcasts. And you and I have to do that business deal where we get the podcast onto your network.
Please, because I love the show and I would love to broadcast it.
We should get the Engadget show onto your. You should get it onto TWiT as well.
Deal. And if you ever want to do a first look on TWiT, please.
Yeah. Oh, hands-on? First hands-on?
Yeah, first hands-on.
I'd like to do a first hands-on of TWiT. Is that possible?
Yes. You can touch me all you want.
Let's do that as soon as possible.
But no Dutch sandwich. Cali Lewis is at geekbeat.tv. And you've got new shows. You're expanding.
Yes, so we not only launched a blog so that you can get more information all day, every day, outside of the video shows that I do 3 times a week on GeekBeat. We also launched WebBeat with a new host. Her name is Pelpina. She's gorgeous. She's funny. She's really sweet. And that is going extremely, extremely well. So we're very happy about that. It's all web focused. Interesting websites, useful websites, also viral videos, interesting things that are happening on the web. So check it out, webbeat.tv.
Thank you, Cali. And, of course, Clayton, you can wear his Giants uniform on Fox and Friends tomorrow.
Yeah. No.
No, you've already done your penance. You've done your
Friday
penance.
on Gadgets and Games. I'll wear it for you.
No. You know what? The 50-cent look is good for you, but I don't. You've done it. You've done it, and you're done. Our bet is off. You have satisfied it in full.
Thank you so much. And congratulations to you, Giants.
Yeah.
Hey, we're doing a big giveaway. Can I mention a big giveaway?
Please.
You love Sonos, don't you love Sonos?
I have now 5 Sonos Zone players and 6 on order. I love them. They're everywhere.
You're like Josh. You can't get disc 2. All the Sonoses are gone because of you.
But I buy them.
House.
I'm buying them. Yeah. I'm not renting them. I love them. We just got a hot tub. We're going to have Sonos out there everywhere.
Oh. I love the Sonos. We're doing a on my labor of love. It's a podcast I do with my best friend every week. It's called the Grizzly Bear Egg Cafe, and we are giving 2 Sonos Zone Player S5s away.
Well, that's a good
Thanks
prize.
to our friends at Sonos. They've been a longtime sponsor of our show. They are giving them away, and all you need to do is follow the podcast on Twitter. Just Grizzly Bear Cafe on Twitter, and it's so easy to enter. But 2 of them, that's $800, because you can't really experience Sonos with just one in a room. You need to have
that's the problem with Sonos. You got to really end up. I keep buying more.
Right. Well, now I
everywhere.
This house. I need to buy 5 Sonos. For this
but
house.
It's great, and I use it for my alarm. They don't advertise on this show, and in fact, I'm really upset to hear that they advertise on your show. But they, because I am the Sonos fan. No, but I use it for my alarm clock because the Sonos app on the iPad or the iPhone, you can set the alarms, and I listen to Pandora on. I mean, it's fantastic.
I just started using the alarm clock for the first time last week.
I didn't even know it existed.
I didn't either. I get up at 4 in the morning to go and do Fox and Friends, and I set it. You can set it for 7 days a week. You can pick 2 days a week. You can pick it one day, and it'll just do a little.
Ever. And because you can listen to internet radio, you could have a radio station as well. I mean, you can listen to whatever you want on it. I love it.
Yeah. Hey, and your buddy Tom Merritt is going to be a guest on my show, host of Tech News Today.
Yeah.
He's going to be a host. He's going to be a guest on my show on Friday, coming up this next week.
He's actually waiting in the wings right now. His show East Meets West is coming up in a bit.
All right.
Oh, and hey, I have to apologize. I know that my audio is a little bad, so before we get off, just sorry, my headset isn't working, and
but
I don't know what to say. I know you're getting some feedback.
But, Callie, you have the best backdrop of all the people.
I know, it's a nice brick wall, right?
Yeah, she looks like she's at the punchline or something.
Callie, actually, it doesn't sound that bad, so don't feel too bad.
Okay.
That sounds pretty decent.
You guys are great. This was a lot of fun. I'm going to end on a sad note. The Sony cassette Walkman is finally dying.
Tears for all.
I remember buying mine. When did it come out, Joshua? It's like 85, I think. I remember buying it at
79.
79?
I think it was before that.
I remember when it came out.
79 or 81?
79. Wasn't it 79?
I went to Macy's, and it was like $400. It was really expensive. I remember buying that blue one with a button that you'd press that I thought would, be like you could talk into it. No, it just muted it. So we'll end with a Sony ad. This is straight from Engadget.com to say farewell to the Sony Walkman. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Eats Meets West is coming up next. Another twit is in the can. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the monkeys in the mist.
When I hear the wind, it brings me whispers from far. My hoping eyes, dreaming heart.
どこまで行ったら未来だろう。また一歩進化を続けるウォークマン。It's a Sony.
Doing the twit.